Shotgun, Smith's gonna throw. Clean pocket, scans, throws. Michael Mayer at the goal line. Turns, touchdown Raiders! Gino looked all over the field, and he followed Michael Mayer. His first touchdown in 2 years. And the Raiders take a 9-0 lead with 5:13 to go in the second.
It's Unnecessary Roughness. Presented by Meineke, doing car care right. Here's your boy Q.
And here we go, Raider Nation. We come into the sounds of Michael Mayer with the touchdown catch. That was going back all the way to October 12th, 2025. That was the first touchdown catch he had in 2 years, as you heard Jason Horowitz, or like we like to call him around here, J-Rock on the call. And hopefully we hear a lot more Michael Mayer catches and touchdown catches, you just described and broken down and yelled out by one Jason Horowitz throughout the course of the 2026 season. Obviously a new season that, well, the training camp is going to be coming up next week. Rookies do report to training camp tomorrow, along with Maxx Crosby, who's going to be reporting to training camp then as well. So Michael Mayer, he's been a guy that a lot of people have come to this show and talked about on the morning tailgate, have talked about on JT's show, and just talked about in general when it comes to who could step up, who people would like to see break out, have that moment. And honestly, we've talked about Michael Mayer for quite a bit for many years. So we'd love to see him be a big part of this Raiders offense in 2026 and beyond. It is Unnecessary Roughness here. Raider Nation Radio 920. Got my man Ari live in Lotus Broadcasting Studio, and I'm here at Studio Q hanging out. It's been a very busy morning already. Excited about everything that we've had going on, and I can tell it's getting closer and closer to the start of training camp because now everything is getting ramped up. Everything is getting busy. Speaking of busy, the Raiders were busy today. Jeremy Fowler from ESPN reported this morning that fourth-round pick Jamad McCoy was going to sign his contract today, according to sources. Well, sources were correct. The Raiders just confirmed it not too long ago, within the last half hour. They sent out the email that the Raiders have signed fourth-round pick Jamad McCoy to a deal, the number 101 overall pick. Spent the first 2 seasons at Tennessee after transferring from Oregon State. He played in 25 career games with 18 starts, total 75 tackles, 16 pass defense, 6 interceptions during his career. Remember, he didn't play in 2025. He was coming back from that knee injury, but just the success that he had going all the way back to 2024 and just what he was able to do. All SEC first team, All-American second team, and a Jim Thorpe Award semifinalist after his sophomore season back in 2024 when he started all 13 games and led the Volunteers with 13 pass defense, 4 INTs, both marked ranking 4th in the SEC. So Jamad McCoy, a guy that many of us have talked about could potentially be the steal of the NFL draft, a guy that had a first-round grade, but due to injuries dropped all the way to the 4th round when the Raiders made a point of emphasis to make sure that they moved up to go get him. They did. Now today he signed, sealed, and delivered, and as I mentioned before, the rookies do report coming up on tomorrow. So just in time for not rookie minicamp, but training camp, and the rookies reporting. The only guy that's left is Fernando Mendoza, and it's so funny, I guess because it's close to training camp now. I'm starting to see all these articles and all these people talking about Fernando Mendoza and what the holdup is, but we've been talking about what the holdup is for the contract and him getting it signed for quite a while. Right, we had Joel Corey from CBS Sports on the show. He wrote an article many months ago about the situation. We had him on the show right after that, and we've brought it to the table a few times. It's not the money, it's not the years, it's just a signing bonus. And is it going to get paid in one lump sum, or is it going to be in installments like the Raiders traditionally do? They traditionally pay their signing bonuses in installments, and ever since Joe Burrow, the number 1 overall pick, all those first number 1 overall picks have gotten their signing bonus all in one lump sum. So that's really all it boils down to. So that at some point that will get worked out, and Fernando Mendoza will be under contract. But it's funny, and like I said, I could tell it's getting close to training camp because I saw today a bunch of different stories. Even our friend Tyler Dragon from USA Today Sports wrote an article about it today. I want to say Pro Football Talk had one about it. Many different tweets and just different NFL insiders, and I say that loosely because it's just, folks that have accounts that are NFL-based are putting these information out based off wherever they got it from. They don't say where the information comes from, but it's just it's one of those scenarios, something that we've known for quite a while, and it's just waiting for it to come to fruition and get signed, sealed, and delivered, and that'll happen sooner rather than later. Really nothing to get too concerned about as far as I'm concerned, but that's just me. So Big show lined up for you, as we always do. Aaron Schatz, Chief Analytics Officer, FTN Fantasy, ESPN. He'll join us coming up at 3 o'clock. He'll be our first guest. He actually has a really good article on ESPN.com right now, ranking NFL teams by under 25 years old talent, right? Under 25 talent. The Patriots and Texans, they lead the list, but the Raiders come in pretty high on that list, which to me is very encouraging for not only this year but also moving forward. They have a lot of talent, and they have a lot of young talent. It's not a roster that I look at as like even the Washington Commanders. When they went to the NFC Championship game, as great as that was, they had a pretty old roster when they did that. And you saw what happened last year. Once Jaden Daniels went down, of course, when your quarterback goes down, everything is going to go down. But you could just see how old that roster really was, and they did a very good effort, as far as I'm concerned, in Washington to get that thing turned around and be a lot younger moving forward. And so the Raiders have a very young team as far as I'm concerned, and they do have some talent. Now there's guys that are unproven, obviously, on the squad, and they've got to go out there and prove that they can be NFL players. But I think it's encouraging to have a team full of talent that's 25 and under, and Aaron Schatz put out that article, and the Raiders rank pretty high on that. So he'll join us at 3 o'clock and talk about that. Then at 3:30, Mary Kay Cabot, Cleveland.com. She'll join the show. She's been covering the Browns for many, many moons. I've been rocking with Mary Kay for a long time, all the way back when I was at ESPN Central Texas. Used to have her on the show quite a bit whenever we talked Cleveland Browns. And funny or not, you would think that, how often do you talk Cleveland Browns? Somehow, some way, they would always pop up. I don't know what it was, but somehow, some way, the Cleveland Browns would always pop up. So we'd have her on the show quite a bit. She'll join us as the Browns do play the Raiders this year. They will host them this year as opposed to coming to Las Vegas like they have the past couple of years. And we'll do what we've been doing with all the teams that are outside of the AFC West that are on the Raiders schedule. We'll do a little strength, weakness, and X factor for that team. So Mary Kay Cabot, Cleveland.com. She'll join us coming up at 3:30. Those are the only two guests that we have lined up as of right now. If someone happens to pop up, there's a couple other guests that we were trying to lock in for today, and if that doesn't happen, that's okay. We'll get them locked in either tomorrow or Friday. Then we'll let you know. But right now, Aaron Schatz, Chief Analytics Officer at FTN Fantasy, ESPN, at 3, and Mary Kay Cabot, Cleveland.com. Coming up at 3:30. Just a quick reminder, this fine show that we call Unnecessary Roughness here on RaiderNation Radio 920 will come to you live from the Golden Circle Sportsbook on Friday. That's inside of TI. It's one of my favorite places in town. Matter of fact, I think it's probably my favorite place to do a show. Favorite sportsbook to do a show in town from, for sure. One of the first places that I did a show from, and it's a lot of fun. It's free parking, so it's easy to slide in, easy to slide out. They've got everything you want, from the betting kiosk to great happy hour specials, food, drink, whatever you want. There's a TV everywhere. You won't miss any of the action. Whatever it is you're looking for, it's going to be on right there. And it's always good to have a field trip, right? It's always good to get out of the studio, whether it's the Lotus Broadcasting Studio or Studio Q, and meet and greet with the people, right? Be a man of the people. So we'll do that on Friday, sending you to the weekend the right way. So if you're in town, if you're around town, if you're coming to town, don't forget the Golden Circle Sportsbook is where we'll be on Friday, inside of Treasure Island, inside of TI, where the parking is always free. We got winning on the way as well. And Ari, what do you have today? I don't remember.
Sure do. We have more Aviators tickets coming up in a couple weeks here. And then, of course, I'll go ahead and give you the word of the day, which is Eagle, E-A-G-L-E. Don't get upset.
Man, you didn't even let me tell him you didn't even let me tell him what's going on. What you giving the word of the day for?
Now tell him.
You didn't even let me tell him that it's the summer of fun. You didn't even let me tell him that it's going to be the Southern California theme park trip. You didn't let me tell him it's to take the trip or take the cash. All you did is say the word is Eagle. Eagle, fly, Eagle, fly.
I got the easy part. Yeah, make
there you go. That's it. That's your Philadelphia roots in you.
There
huh?
you go. Yes.
There it is. So
Don't be mad.
Eagle. There. I'm not mad at you. Hey, look. It's better to be prepared. I'd rather have to tell you, hey, man, whoa, there, ease back, pull it back, than have to give you, try to kick you in your backside and try to make you, pay attention and give me a little bit more. So I'll take that.
I like that.
Ari came prepared. He came ready, man. You're froggy felt lead. You want to
Fly.
leave? Go ahead. So, yeah, man. All right. Ari's on it today. You caught me by surprise there.
Trying.
So,
every now and then, like you say, every twice a day. Hey, oh, Lord. I messed it up.
Yeah, you're going to get
Even
it
a broken clock is right.
Yeah, it's okay. Hey, don't worry. I mess up sayings all the time. It's cool.
Oh, so I hear.
It's the cool thing to do.
It really is.
Right? All the cool kids are doing it. That's what
right.
we're going to tell ourselves. All the cool kids are doing it. So, yeah, the word is Eagle. Go ahead and get that in. Text it in right now. You have till 5 o'clock for the Summer of Fun. We do that each and every year around here. It's really cool. You can take the trip or take the cash. Big shout out to Terribles. The cash is $3,000 and the trip is the Southern California theme park trip. So it's up to you, but we just need some winners. We have not got one winner from this show yet throughout the whole course of the Summer of Fun. So I'm actually feeling kind of disappointed. Maybe because I tried to hustle it a little bit and use words multiple times so you have multiple times the chances to win. Clearly it hasn't worked out for me yet. So I need to rethink my strategy around here. But we're trying to make it work, Ari. We're doing our best. So that is what it is. Exactly. So, again, the word is Eagle. You have till 5 o'clock. Get that in at 702-365-9200. Before we get into the opening drive, we got to hear from our guy E-Rob. Yesterday is good. Tomorrow's going to be good. The weekend's going to be fantastic. But today's important. And why is that?
Because every day matters. The older you get, the more you start appreciating day in and day out. Because you know I can't get that time back. I'm in the business of saying, not if I would have did this or if I would have did that. I'm in the business of now.
I'm in the business of now as well. So right now, let's go ahead and jump into the opening drive.
The opening drive of Unnecessary Roughness on RaiderNation Radio 920 AM is brought to you by Paul Pata Law. It's not about the injury, it's about the recovery.
So it's funny, man. I always say things come to you organically, right? You'll have a certain plan in place, then all of a sudden something will hit you and you decide that you want to pivot off that original plan. And today is a perfect example of that. Today I went over to Channel 13, the TV station, ABC here in town, and I was talking all things Raiders. I mean, again, as you know, the Raiders training camp is right around the corner, so there's a lot of excitement about that. And so Alex Eshelman had me over to talk just Raiders, and that's going to be a feature that's going to pop up, I believe, tomorrow and Saturday night as well, and I'll give you more information on that. It's always cool to be able to team up with our partners around here. And one of the questions she asked me, we probably talked for about 20 or 25 minutes, really good conversation. One of the questions she asked me about training camp was, what are the two things that you want to learn about this team by the end of training camp? And I was like, man, that was a good question. And I don't know if you know, Raider Nation, but anytime I say that's a really good question, or anytime someone says that that's a really good question, and we do a lot of interviews around here, but anytime someone says, oh, that's a good question, what that means is I hadn't thought of that. That's code for I hadn't thought of that. And that's one that I hadn't thought of. I was thinking about certain players when I was thinking about training camp, thinking about certain expectations. We've talked about offense, defense. We've talked about the coaching staff. There's a lot of different ways to break down training camp. And then Alex asked me, well, what do you want to learn about this team by the end of training camp? And I thought, man, that's a damn good question. So I have my answers. It didn't take me long to come up with a couple answers for what I wanted to learn by the end of training camp, but I thought I'm going to go ahead and bring it to Raider Nation today. And I'm going to give Alex all the credit. I'm not going to act like this came off the top of my head. This is something that she asked me straight up, and, it made me pause for a quick second. And anytime you can make me pause for a second and then give you the answer, it's a good question as far as I'm concerned. So I asked you that same question that Alex asked me at 702-365-9200. Two things that you want to learn about this team by the time training camp gets wrapped up. We know the rookie minicamp, not rookie minicamp, I keep calling it minicamp, it's training camp. We know the rookies report for training camp tomorrow and the veterans next week, and then we'll talk to Clint Kubiak on the 28th, and all the real practices begin on the 29th. Trust and believe, I know the schedule. I got the schedule taped everywhere that I can, anywhere where I'm at quite a bit, whether it's here in Studio Q, the office there at the radio station, in the studio, wherever I'm normally at, the schedule is taped up. I went in my boss's office earlier today. I said, hey, here you go. Here's the schedule, just so you know when you look up and say, hey, where's Q? Because that's the inevitable is going to happen. They're going to look up and they'll say, hey, I haven't seen Q in a couple days. All you got to do is look at the schedule. Look at the schedule, and you'll know that, oh, that's why he's over there at training camp. We had a meeting today, and the last little nugget I gave him at the end of the meeting was, oh, just a heads up, I won't be in the meeting next week because we have – practice. We'll be out there at training camp and practice. And everyone was talking and talking and talking. No one said anything. And then I said, I'm going to say it one more time. Next week is training camp, so I won't be here at this meeting. And they're like, oh, okay, cool, I got you. And then I looked over at Sylvia and I said, okay, now next week when my seat is empty in this meeting, they're going to say, hey, where's Q? Oh yeah, he told us last week that he's got training camp starting next week. So that's it's go time. It's excitement time. I've seen a lot of people getting things ready around the radio station for everything that we're going to do. Having the morning tailgate out there at the Intermountain Health Performance Center, being able to get some interviews and get some live reaction while training camp is going on, just like we did last year. Shout out to the Raiders for helping make that happen as well. JT will be able to broadcast some of the shows from the facility, and I'll be able to get some post-game interviews or post-practice interviews as well, like we did. So looking to do what we did last year, but ramp it up and do it even more. So that's just every day having to do a little bit more planning for what is the inevitable, which is coming up next week, is a great position to be in, something that we're very excited about. But, again, I'm very excited about the conversation that we have here today. And no, we don't have a guest until 3 o'clock, so you got plenty of time to get your feedback in. 2 things that you want to learn about this team by the end of training camp. So my answers to Alex, as she asked me this question earlier this afternoon, were who are going to be the 5 starting offensive linemen? First and foremost. Right? Because we talked about the offensive line until we're blue in the face. And the fact that the sooner that they can identify those guys, the better. But there's been times, there's been seasons, there's been coaches, there's been expectations where we've been, 4 or 5 weeks into the season, and Lincoln Kennedy, the great Lincoln Kennedy, will come on the show and say, I don't know who the starting 5 offensive lineman is going to be next week, because there's been just a rotating door. Well, okay, this guy didn't work out, so let's go ahead and put this guy in. And they don't quite know. And I understand it's challenging. And the reason why it's challenging to come up with the starting 5 offensive linemen is because they butter their bread by physicality. They butter their bread by having the pads on. And we all know in training camp and in practice in general, the pads aren't on every single day. Right? And once the regular season starts, there's only a handful of padded practice. I mean, literally a handful of padded practice throughout the course of the year. And most of them are done by, week 11? And then after week 11, there's no more padded practices. So they've got to be able to identify their starting 5 along that offensive line quick, fast, and hurry. And I'm hoping it's sooner rather than later. I'm hoping by the time that Arizona Cardinals first preseason game is over, there's no doubt who the 5 offensive linemen are going to be. And that's giving it some time. That's a handful of practices. 3, 6, 9, 11. And then the game. So there's 11 practices before the game. And I'm sure that there's a good idea right now, but these guys also have to go out there and show that the coaches are making the right decision. We've said it so many times. We know who 2 guys are. We know that for a fact. We know the center and we know the left tackle. But we don't know the guards, and we honestly don't know the right tackle either. I know who I think it's going to be. I know Ari knows who he thinks it's going to be. Amber Theo-Harris, who was on the show yesterday, has an idea who she thinks it's going to be. But we can think, we can feel like we know, we can have all the different thoughts that we have, and none of it matters. None of it's worth the salt. It's all about what they think and what the coaches see and the way they break it down. And as Paul Gutierrez says all the time, and I will never not give him credit for that, it's not the best 5 offensive linemen. It's the best 5 that work together. That's going to be the biggest deal. So you're going to have a competition between Rodgers, Burford, Zune, JPJ, right? Those guys are all going to be part of the mix. DJ Glaze is going to have some competition. Charles Grant is going to be part of that competition, right? There's dudes competing for very little spots. Now, obviously, there's, first team, second team. We get all that. But you don't want them to be rotating in, rotating out. No, we haven't figured this out yet. Haven't figured it out. They've got to identify. That's going to be one of the biggest questions this training camp is who are the 5 offensive linemen, and then how quickly can they get on the same page, right? So that all goes together. The offensive line has got to be one of the biggest questions. Yeah, I know everyone wants to know when Fernando Mendoza is going to start. That's something that it will reveal itself, right? That's the Clint Kubiak answer. It will reveal itself. So I'm not worried about that. I'm not adding that into my 2 things that I want to learn about this team by the end of training camp. The number 1 thing for me, who are the 5 starting offensive linemen? And number 2, what is this team's identity? Who do they want to be? Who do they plan to be? Right? I mean, we know the motto, ride for the brand and play with shock and effort. Okay. I got that on the rundown for the show every day. Ever since it's been said, ever since Kirk Cousins told Brandy Flores when she asked that question about what's this team, what's the identity supposed to be? What is What is Clint Kubiak telling you that he wants to see? Ride for the brand and play with shock and effort. Okay, we know that that's what the motto is. The motto is also just win, baby. The motto is also commitment to excellence, right? And we haven't seen a lot of that. So it's great to have the motto. It's great to have the T-shirt slogan, but how are you actually going to go out there and execute it? Is this team going to be a team built on physicality? Is this team going to be built on finesse? Is it going to be a combination of the two, right? I mean, what kind of team, what is the identity of this team? Is it going to be a run-first team? Is it going to be a pass team to open up the run? Right? I mean, is it a ball control? I mean, we should learn by the time training camp is over in an ideal world. And we know that that's loosely said, an ideal world. In an ideal world, we have a really good idea by the time we see all the training camp and the preseason what the identity of this team is meant to be. Those are my two things that I want to learn. Everything else to me, I feel like will come together really quickly at some point, right? I mean, even if it's not really, really quickly, like, who Jack Bech is going to be, I think that will reveal itself. Malik Benson and Dante Thornton Jr., they'll be in a competition. Who's going to be the leader in the clubhouse when they get out of training camp? That'll reveal itself. I think we'll all be able to see that happen in real time. How healthy is Jamad McCoy going to be by week 1 when they play the Dolphins? I think that'll reveal itself. Like, there's some answers that are almost like it's an open book test and they already have the answers there for you. That will be there. Ari came into the sounds of Michael Mayer. Is there maybe the answer is there a big role for Michael Mayer on this offense? I don't know if that could reveal itself during training camp.
Hope so.
But maybe that's your answer. What do you got, Ari?
Oh, I just said I hope so.
Oh,
just that's it. That's all.
Hey, look, man. When you come in hot, man. I don't want to get in your way. I don't want to step on your toes, man.
That's all, short and sweet. Just I hope so. I have nothing left for the guy. I mean, I really think this would be his year. It should be his year. I'm kind of it's kind of like Tyree Wilson in a way. I think the upside's much better, but where we're like, all right, we're gonna get something big, and then it just never happens. So I feel like but I feel better I feel optimistic. This is the year.
I mean, look, it has to be. It's the last year of his contract.
Right.
So, I mean, seriously, I hate to say it like that, but it's one of those situations where you either S or get off the pot, right?
Yep.
I mean, that's the reality of it because there is no options at the end of the year. So either you do enough to prove that this team should give you an extension or warrant an extension from the team, or you don't. I mean, there's really nothing else he could do but go out there and put his best foot forward, try to be the biggest part of this team that he can be, and see how it all shakes out. Let the chips fall where they may. There's no next year. He'll get his feet wet this year, and then maybe next year he'll be a bigger part. Like, this is a year for a guy in Michael Mayer, for a guy in Trey Tucker, right? Guys like that to show what their worth is. Aiden O'Connell, he's in a contract year, right? I mean, he's got to show what his worth is as well if they plan on carrying 3 quarterbacks or if they plan on him having a future with the Raiders. Like, contract years do tell you a lot. And I know that players will always go out of their way to do the best that they can in a contract year to earn that extension. I have no doubt that Michael Mayer will do the same thing. I think that he does everything he can every year. It just doesn't work out for him one way or the other. So this is one of those situations. It's now or never. It's like you're either going to figure it out or you're not.
That's why I say I hope so.
Either
hope he figures it out.
And look, I don't want it to make it sound like it's all on him. Either you're going to figure it out or you're not, or the team's going to figure it out, right? Because some could say that the team hasn't known how to use them or hasn't used them correctly. So they need to figure that out too. But this is a new staff, so I can't put that on them.
Yeah, I mean, but that is actually where some of my optimism comes in too, where I feel like you have a little more of a cohesive, brain trust, whatever you call it. So whatever the plan is for him, everyone's on the same page, whether that's, minimal, getting max amount, whatever it is. So,
well, I mean, the good thing about this staff, if you want everyone to be on the same page, you have the best opportunity with this staff.
Right.
right? I mean, at least there's that. Right? I mean, it's not a staff that's full of different agendas. They're all on the same page. That's the one thing that we could say about this staff that's here now. What does that mean? Does that translate into him having a really good season, and all of a sudden Brock Bowers and him are a great 1-2 punch at the tight end position? Maybe, but we don't know. Just like Amber Theoharris said yesterday. Okay, Brock, yeah, he's phenomenal. Ashley can be really good, but what about all the pieces around him? What are they going to do? And that's going to include Michael Mayer as well. So that might – I mean, he might be the answer to – he might be one of the answers to your two-part question. 2 things that you want to learn about this team by the end of training camp. What is Michael Mayer's role going to be? That could be a question. I'm okay with that.
Indeed. We're
So
going to
let me know
learn
your
something.
thoughts. Exactly. Let me know your thoughts. 702-365-9200. This text real quick comes in from Rainer Donut in Fresno, the 559. He said, my answer to your question is, 1, who is ready to step up and take that cornerback 2 spot? And 2, we all know these are men playing football, but I want to know who is here walking like leaders of men and who falling like children, because that'll dictate our season. Thanks for your time, and go Raiders. That's Raider Donut in the 559, Fresno, California. Who's going to step up and take that cornerback 2 spot, and who's going to be a leader of men? I think those are 2 fantastic things to learn by the end of training camp. Those are definitely, some storylines. We talked about the secondary. Right, in great detail. Eric Stokes is there. Who's going to be across? Is it Darian Porter? Is it the guy who signed his contract today, Jamad McCoy? Is it other? We don't know. It will reveal itself, but that'll be a storyline. I mean, that's not one that's just we're not going to pay attention to it. Oh, we'll be all over that one. Right? And what did Amber say yesterday? James Jones goes to the wide receivers. Eric Allen goes to the cornerbacks. Marcus Allen's paying attention to the running backs. And she said, look, I ain't got a dog in the fight. I'm looking at the O-line. Well, for me, I'm definitely looking at the O-line. I'm definitely looking at the corners. I'm absolutely looking at the quarterback position. We want to see what Kirk Cousins and Fernando Mendoza do. That'll all work itself out in the wash. But, yeah, I mean, that's one of the biggest storylines in the Raiders training camp as far as I'm concerned is the cornerbacks, the secondary. How do these new guys that have been brought into the mix, whenever you're talking about, you're talking about Stukes, you're talking about Johnson, you're talking about McCoy, you're talking about Masses, you're talking about a trade for Teron Johnson. Like, how does this new look secondary come together? That is an excellent question, Raider Donut. Definitely thank you for that text. Definitely appreciate you. Again, 2 things you want to learn about this team by the end of training camp. My answers, who are the 5 starting offensive linemen, and what's this team's identity gonna be? But what says you? We'll hear from you next at 702-365-9200. It's Raider Nation Radio 920.
That was the opening drive of Unnecessary Roughness on Raider Nation Radio 920 AM. Brought to you by Paul Padala. It's not about the injury, it's about the recovery.
Listen, he, I think, took a step back last year, but as we know, there's a lot of just not great structure around him and the rest of the offensive line. And so some of what you'll see is DJ Glaze's youth and experience, and some of it, I think, is just poor scheme, poor execution. But I think when Kubiak and Rick Dennison were hired, they made it a point to say, hey, there's guys in the room who we believe have more to give. I think DJ Glaze is one of those guys.
Now back to Unnecessary Roughness with your boy Q. Presented by Meineke, doing car care right.
Former Raider offensive lineman, longtime offensive lineman in the National Football League, Marshall Newhouse, talking about DJ Glaze as part of the Just Win podcast, along with Ted Wynn. Ted Wynn, good friend of the show. Marshall Newhouse, good friend of the show. But you hear his breakdown with DJ Glaze, and Marshall's one of the guys that I talked to in San Francisco leading up to Super Bowl 60, and he literally told me, Q, I watched film and I did not understand what they were trying to accomplish. Now, just think about that. Could you imagine Eric Allen coming on the show as a corner and saying, Q, I don't know what the corners were trying to do. I don't know the scheme that they were trying to run. I don't know what the goal was when they ran this. Or any position. I don't know what the quarterback was doing when he threw this, or why he was throwing to that area, or why that wide receiver ran that route. Like, there's nothing that sounds more ass backwards, to just be blunt about it, than someone saying, I don't know what the goal was on this, and they played that position at a very high level. right? I mean, I bring up what we do and what I do because that's all I know. It's like me listening to the radio and hearing somebody talk and say, I don't know what the hell they were trying to accomplish with that. And I've done that. Trust and believe. I've done that. I've ruined a lot of people when it comes to how they listen to the radio. I've really ruined a lot of people's listening, the way that they listen to the radio. They used to enjoy it. Now they're like, yeah, that guy's been in my ear so damn much, I can't enjoy it anymore. Now I listen to it, and I'm listening for them people to make mistakes and wonder, what were they trying to do? I can't tell you how many times the wife has told me, I don't know what she was trying to accomplish there. Or, it's real, though, but that's because, that's me being a critic, right? It's me being a guy that's listening and trying to figure out what's going on and paying attention. But, I mean, Marshall Newhouse, this guy's got a ring, right? He knows what he's talking about. He knows what he's looking for. Lincoln Kennedy, same thing. Whenever Big Link says Q, I don't know what they were actually working on there. I don't know what they were trying to do. That's troubling. So from everything I've heard, everything we've been told, the coaching of the offensive line is so much better that even guys like DJ Glaze, who may have taken a step back last year, could have a bounce back because the coaching, the teaching is going to be that much better. It's Unnecessary Roughness here on RaiderNation Radio 920. We threw the question out there to you at 702-365-9200. Two things that you want to learn about this team by the end of training camp. I mentioned the offensive line. Marshall Newhouse on the way in, you heard the thoughts on him on DJ Glaze. He wasn't the only one talking about DJ Glaze. Ryan McFadden, who covers the Raiders for ESPN, he had a couple thoughts on DJ Glaze as well.
One name to watch when the Las Vegas Raiders begin training camp next week is starting right tackle DJ Glaze. After a modest rookie season, Glaze took a step back, giving up 70 pressures and 16 sacks in 17 games played. The Raiders, however, did not make any major additions to the right tackle spot, as Clint Kubiak believes in the continuity between Glaze and starting left tackle Colton Miller.
So right there, Ryan McFadden's talking about the bookends, Colton Miller and DJ Glaze, and they like that continuity right now. Does that mean that that's set in stone? No, not at all. Colton Miller, I think we feel very comfortable about him. But DJ Glaze is going to have to show improve during training camp, and he's got a guy like Charles Grant, maybe a guy like Trey Zoon. I mean, when you have a guy that can play all positions, don't count him out of anything. All right, he's the guy that I identified day one as a day one starter. Now, he might not turn out to be that day one starter like I identified because there's only a couple positions down on that offensive line that are open, but he's the guy that has a lot of versatility, so he could be one of those guys just like DJ Glaze was. The thing I give DJ Glaze so much credit for is when he was thrown into action in Costa Mesa, California, he went into action as a rookie, and he never came off the field. He's just like what Kirk Morrison said. What did he say on Monday when he joined the show? Hey, I was the guy that I was in the nickel role, but then they put me, they gave me a little bit more. They put a little bit more on my plate. And once I got that more on my plate, I didn't come off the field. That's what you're supposed to do, right? That's what it's supposed to be. You're that fill-in guy on the radio. Hey, man, you fill in so good, they don't want to take you off, right? Right? The guy that you're filling in for is like, whoa, hold on, man, this guy's trying to take my job. I've heard those conversations. I've had those texts. Like, hey, man, slow down there. Slow down. I got to have my job when I come back on Monday. It's the reality of it. So two things you want to learn about this team by the end of training camp is what we want to hear from you at 702-365-9200. We got this one from Raider Mike in Colorado. It's always great to hear from him. So, what up, Q? Two things I want to learn by the end of camp. One, is this defense for real? We brought in guys who could ball and promoted Robbie Leonard to DC. That's a lot of new at once. Camp will tell us if these pieces gel fast or if it's going to take time for everybody to get on the same page. Two, how do the contract year guys respond? This could be their last run in the silver and black, and contract year guys usually ball out. I'm watching guys like Big Mike, Trey Tucker, Kuntz closely to pay attention to what they do. Appreciate you, fam. That's Raider Mike in Colorado. Again, I've talked about the contract guys. He's spot on. Contract guys usually ball out, right? And then the question is that a contract year performance or is that going to be what they are moving forward? And you've got to make that decision. That's what Dallas did with George Pickens. He balled out last year, and they said, okay, cool. He was in a contract year. We'll hit him with the franchise tag, $27 million. Do it again. Do it again. And George Pickens was like, let me sign this deal. Let me get to camp because that's the most money I've ever seen. And did not even blink, which is great. which is great, which shows that he clearly is willing to bet on himself again. And anyone who's worth the salt, I mean, obviously injury is something, but anyone who's worth the salt and believes in himself really should be able to do that. But obviously injuries are something that no player wants to have to worry about, like just like Malcolm Kuntz, right? Everyone thought he was going to get a big contract. I remember asking him in Costa Mesa about that potential contract on the way because he had that big breakout season at the end of 23, and he was going into the contract year, and he's like, I'm not worried about that right now. And unfortunately for him, he gets hurt, and so then it just never really comes to fruition. But he has signed 2 one-year deals with the Raiders since then. So obviously there's something they see in Malcolm Kuntz, and he will definitely be someone that everyone pays attention to. Really good stuff, man. Really good stuff. Raider Mike, thanks so much for the call. This one comes from Ivan. He said, 1, if players like JPJ and some of the free agents can stay healthy, that's one of the questions he wants answered. And 2, Rob Leonard's defense. Are guys in position to get the ball and get to the quarterback, or are we going to sit back and wait for a receiver to catch it and hope we can get him down? So, again, another question about the defense. We spent a lot of time talking about the offense, but the defense is something to pay attention to as well, especially with the new defensive coordinator in Robbie Leonard. Not doubting him, but it is new. It's a new position. It's one thing to be a position group coach. It's another thing to be in charge of the whole thing. Right? We say that the same thing with the head coach. We believe that he's going to be really good with his background, where he comes from, and the way that he's been taught the whole time that he's probably basically been alive. But until you're actually in the fire and do it, it's a different animal. So yeah, I mean, I think that that's a fair assessment for sure. Avenger Raider hit us up and said, "Hey Q, Avenger Raider from Moval, California. My 2 things are simple. 1, who is the backup quarterback? This will say a lot about how ready this staff feels Mendoza is ready to start. And 2, do they add any wide receivers from the waiver wire since the Raiders have the number 1 pick? This will say a lot about what role each wide receiver plays in the season." Very fair. 2 really good questions. If Mendoza happens to be the number 2 quarterback, then you feel like, okay, he's closer to starting than maybe you expected. Maybe he's the starter coming out of camp. And then all of a sudden, Aiden O'Connell's there. Maybe Kirk Cousins becomes a trade bait. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to look at it, but I think that you bring up a good point. Maybe Aiden O'Connell gets traded, right? I mean, again, they're in a position of power with their quarterback spot. To have 3 guys that they feel good about, and I don't mean as long-term franchise guys, obviously. We know who the long-term franchise guy is, but we all know that there's 3 guys in that quarterback room right now that if a game was on Sunday, they could play. Right? I mean, as much as we like to, fight and argue and this, that, and the third, I think we could all agree that if a game was on Sunday and they needed any of those 3 quarterbacks to start, whether it's Cousins, Mendoza, or O'Connell, they can go in there and start. I'm not saying they're all going to play at the same level, but they all have the capability of starting the game and showing that, okay, they've got a little something. Obviously, the playbook would be dumbed down a little bit for Mendoza. O'Connell's been there, done that, and Kirk Cousins is the old vet. So that's why I say that. 702-365-9200. That's a really good text, man. I appreciate that. Keep that feedback coming. 702-365-9200. You know it's almost football time. Shields up. He's back. Welcome to the show, my man. What's on your mind?
Thank you. Thanks for taking my call, man. I'll answer your question. At the end of training camp, I want to see, number 1, has Kubiak won the locker room, show some leadership? 2, is the offensive line solidified? And with their starting 5, are they confident enough to know that these guys are going to get the job done, man? Those are the 2 points right now. Thanks for taking my call, Q. Shields up.
Hey, great stuff, man. Short and to the point. I like it, though. I like it, and that is a question. And I do feel like Kubiak is showing that he could be a leader of men and that he has the locker room. He's showing that based off the feedback that we've got from the players so far. Obviously, it's only been a handful of players that we talked to throughout OTAs and mandatory minicamp. Now we're going to get them every day. We're going to also see them on the grass. That's something that Lincoln pointed out to me a couple training camps ago. He said, I'd like to come here, especially early on in training camp, observe to see if the players are eager to go practice, if they're eager to go through the drills, if they're eager to get out there on the grass, or if they're going through the motions. If they're going through the motions, they're not all bought in. But if they're eager, they're bought in. So that's the little nugget that I picked up from Lincoln, and that's something that, I pay attention to. How energized is the practice? How much does Clint Kubiak have to try to push these guys to give me more, or are they out there willing? Are they a bunch of Maxx Crosby's out there where they want to go full throttle. Now, obviously, nobody's Maxx Crosby. He's on a whole nother level, but you understand what I'm saying. Do these guys have that want to where they can't wait to get out there on the grass and practice because they know what they're doing? From everything that we've heard from A.J. Cole, from Eric Stokes, from Colton Miller, from Maxx Crosby, Ashton Genty, all the guys that we met with early on in the process, everyone has said that they like the approach from Coach Kubiak and the way that he's all about ball, and they're ready to go to work, and they like the direction it's going. Again, it's pretty easy to say when it's not the hottest day in the summer, which apparently tomorrow is going to be the hottest day of the summer. I was told that earlier today. So we have a communities and schools event tomorrow morning. I think it's from like 9 to 3. And, we'll be out there, 2:15 in Rainbow. We'll be collecting all kind of, goodies for back to school and everything. Just doing our part. We've teamed up with community and schools, which we do every year. And Steph McKenzie, who's in charge of all our community affairs at the radio station, she does a fantastic job. She told me today, oh, by the way, it's supposed to be the hottest day of the summer tomorrow. I said, well, hey, you know what? Why not? When we did the water drive, remember when we did the water drive, Ari? That was also one of the hottest days of the summer. I was like, well, you have a day of picking them. You're really good at picking them. Boy, when it's at the peak heat. Hey, you know what? Today's a good day to be outside.
I mean, looks like Saturday and Sunday got a little jealous because they're even higher. So I don't know if that's like the hottest days so far, and then it just gets worse from there. But yeah, 109 does not look so friendly.
109 tomorrow?
That's the high, yeah.
Yeah, so there you go.
Have fun with that.
Well,
man.
I mean, hey, look, we got to do something good for the community,
no,
right? We got to
absolutely,
get back to the community, so
I'd
we'll
get
make
out there
that
at
happen.
120 for that, yeah.
Right, so, I mean, but it's just so funny that you think about it. You're like, yep, of course, why wouldn't it be the hottest day of the year or the hottest day of the week, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be hot out there, so, But so point is, when it's hot out there, you're practicing, right? The guy in front of you, you've seen him now 5, 6, 7 days in a row. He's getting on your nerves. You know what I mean? Like, how much do you stay together then, right? That's always – you kind of learn a lot, like I said, when you're going and seeing what's happening in training camp. We do want to hear from you. Keep that feedback coming. 702-365-9200. We got Aaron Schatz, Chief Analytics Officer from FTN Fantasy, ESPN, joining us coming up at the top of the hour. But we want to know 2 things that you want to learn about this team by the end of training camp. We hear from you next here on RaiderNation Radio 920.
Max wanted to win at every single thing that he did. You know what I mean? Like, he could be playing pool. He could be playing a video game. He could be playing cards. And you would have thought it was to break some record in the NFL. You would have thought it was to go to the Super Bowl. But it was also an extreme joy in competing, right? The fact that I could lose, I could win, I might fall short, I might make it, and they live for that thrill. There's a really cool ability and joy in competing.
Right now, we're doing football right on Unnecessary Roughness. Brought to you by Meineke, doing car care right.
Coach Rasul, he's in Philadelphia now, assistant to the head coach, but he was a defensive assistant for the Raiders back in 2025. You hear him on the way in talking about Maxx Crosby. It's Unnecessary Roughness, RaiderNation Radio 920. Aaron Schatz, Chief Analytics Officer, FTN Fantasy and ESPN, joins us coming up at the top of the hour. But just talking about the competition that is Maxx Crosby, we've been spending time talking about training camp. The rookies will report to training camp on tomorrow, and that includes Maxx Crosby. And, well, how did we learn that Max was going to be reporting for rookie minicamp, or rookie training camp, I should say? Well, he told us himself.
As most of you guys know, training camp starts July 28th. For me, coming off an injury, so I have to go July 23rd. So it's my first time going early. Wow. But ultimately, I am extremely excited. I'm more excited than anything. We're back. Football is back. It's go time, dude, and I cannot wait, good, bro. I get butterflies thinking about it, but it's been the best off season for sure. I've grown so much in so many ways. I chase perfection every day, even though it's never going to be perfect in every single aspect of my life. And everyone knows how much I love football and how much I put into this, man. It's been a hell of a journey, but I'm so excited and so happy to be back. So I've been itching. You know, I didn't even get to do OTAs. I had to sit like a sad puppy on the side and just watch, and finally getting back out there, get an early start, which I'm fired up about, get a head start with the rookies. So I'll be out there getting to it, and just extremely blessed and excited, bro. It's been a hell of a journey.
Rookies reporting to camp, and then you see Maxx Crosby out there. Hey, hold on. We're trying to ease into camp, and now we got 98 out here too. So we'll see, how full throttle he goes during camp, right? I mean, I think we all understand what Maxx Crosby brings to the table, what he's going to bring to the table, and he's one of those guys that doesn't need to go full throttle every single day in training camp to be ready for the start of the season and the Miami Dolphins when they come to Allegiant Stadium. A lot of people have asked questions about Maxx Crosby. How happy is he? How long is he going to be with the Raiders? Are they still looking to move him? What's going on? I found this little nugget pretty interesting from Adam Schefter on the Adam Schefter podcast when asked about Maxx Crosby.
And, of course, there's the storyline of Maxx Crosby being back out there. I know some people have wondered if he'd still be on the market. I don't see that. I see him staying in Vegas, helping this team, and being a Raider for life, and we'll see how that plays out.
Short and sweet when it comes to Maxx Crosby from Adam Schefter, and just because Schefter says it doesn't mean that it's going to be that way, but something I've talked about quite a bit is I really feel like Maxx is in a good place. I spent a lot of time talking about that, and I didn't know after the no trade went down, I didn't know where he was at. And people would ask us and said, how do we know? We haven't talked to him. I have no clue. But after seeing him at OTAs and seeing him at mandatory minicamp and, seeing him at the Silver and Black Gala and actually listening to the words that he said, he done put out a song talking about the Raider way. I mean, everything is just kind of letting it be known, at least to me, that he's in a really good place and he's fired up by the roster that they have right now, even though it's a 90-man roster and it'll get whittled down to 53 by the time training camp is over. But I think he's very fired up about the guys that they have added to the roster. I think he's very fired up about the defensive coordinator. I think he's fired up about Clint Kubiak. There's a lot that I believe that he is fired up about. And as I said, it's on July 22nd. I'm fired up. Ari's fired up. You're fired up. That don't mean by November 22nd everyone's going to be fired up, right? By November 22nd, everyone could be like, oh, hell, here we go again, right? Or everyone could be really fired up because the Raiders are playing well, right? I mean, that's all going to happen one way or the other. That's going to happen with me, with Ari, without Ari. Like I say it all the time, man. If the movie says it's going to air at 3 o'clock, guess what? With or without you, the movie's airing at 3 o'clock. So the Raiders season will play out, and it will reveal how everyone feels moving forward. But I do believe truly right now, as you heard from Shefty, I believe that Maxx Crosby's in a really good place. That's how we do football right.
Doing football right on Unnecessary Roughness. Brought to you by Meineke. Doing car care right.
Well, I think Ashton Jeanty has an opportunity to have a big year. Look at what he did. The guy almost had a 1,000-yard rookie season with one of the worst offenses last year in the NFL, if not the worst, definitely the worst rushing offense, because they were never ahead in games. They were never in a situation like, oh, let's run the football. It was like, we got to throw the football because we're from behind. So I think if this offensive line, they can give him something to run through, then I'm excited about it.
It's Unnecessary Roughness. Presented by Meineke, doing car care right. Here's your boy Q.
As we kick off hour number 2 of the show, we come into the sounds of Amber Theo-Harris, who was a guest on the show yesterday, talking about Ashton Jeanty and that offensive line, and all roads lead to that offensive line, right? They've got to be a whole lot better in 2026 to give Jeanty, Bowers, Mayer, Tucker, Naylor, any of those guys, Cousins, Mendoza, any of those guys an opportunity to be successful in 2026. It is Unnecessary Roughness here on RaiderNation Radio 923. The question out there, 2 things you want to learn about this team by the end of training camp. The rookies report tomorrow, the veterans coming up at next week. And so we'll get your thoughts on the text line at 702-365-9200. But join us now on the phone lines, Aaron Schatz, Chief Analytics Officer at FTN Fantasy, ESPN. And Aaron, thanks so much for your time. Appreciate you. I was checking out your article ranking NFL teams by under 25 talent and talking about the Patriots, Texans, and where the Raiders rank. But before we get into that article, I understand that you have a book that just came out, the FTN Football Almanac Preseason Guide. It just came out. Tell us a little something about that.
Yeah, this is our preseason book that we do every year. It's got chapters on all 32 teams. It's got a ton of advanced stats, all kinds of stuff about scheme, play action, cornerback coverage. We do film study. We write some jokes. We put it all together to preview the season. You can get it at ftnfantasy.com/almanac, or search Amazon for FTN Football Almanac 2026.
It sounds like a labor of love. It sounds like a hell of a project that you put together there.
Yeah, it's the dedication of like 3 months of my life every single year. This is the 22nd year that we've done a preseason annual book.
Nice. No, I can appreciate that, and breaking down all 32 teams and schemes. And, that's something that Raider fans should be paying attention to as well as they're trying to learn Clint Kubiak and his scheme, since he's a new head coach but also offensive play caller.
That's right. We've got a lot of information about what Seattle did last year that gives you an idea of what the Vegas is going to do this year.
What did it, not to be a spoiler, but what stood out to you the most about what Seattle did offensively with Clint Kubiak as the offensive coordinator?
I mean, it's that Shanahan-McVay type thing, right? A lot of under center, a lot of play action. They had the two running backs, right? One was the power guy, which was Charbonnet. One was the home run hitter, which was Walker. That's different from the Raiders, where they're very much going to depend on one running back. Nothing against Washington, but, Janty is the guy.
Yeah, no, he really is. Aaron Schatz, Chief Analytics Officer, FTN Fantasy, and ESPN is with us here. Raider Nation Radio 920. So get into your article. It's on ESPN.com talking about NFL teams under 25 when it comes to talent. The Raiders came in at number 6. I started off the show, Aaron, by saying that's really encouraging for a team that's trying to find themselves, that they have a lot of talent that's young, that they could all grow together, especially with the young head coach as well. What are your thoughts on that?
That's right, and there's some projection on this, right? We don't know what Fernando Mendoza is going to be yet. We don't know what Jermod McCoy or Traden Stoops is going to be yet, but we know that those guys were drafted high. We know Mendoza was number 1. We know Janty has a lot of talent. We know Brock Bowers has a lot of talent, and there's some young talent on the offensive line, too. Powers Johnson and Glaze, and then backups like Grant and Rogers who are going to compete for jobs. So there's a good amount of young talent there under 25. Look, that's what happens usually when you have a losing team. You get high draft picks and you build young talent. It's not always like that. I mean, we have Seattle at like number 8, and they've, been winning. But, among the teams we have higher, the Browns and the Titans and the Patriots, who were a losing team until last year.
How special can an offense be when you have guys like Brock Bowers, Ashton Genty, and Fernando Mendoza, if they live up to the billing? We know Bowers is that guy, but if the other two live up to what we believe they could be.
I mean, I think it can be pretty special, but I would want a receiver. I would want a number 1 receiver, and I think that is what is on the Raiders' shopping list for next year's draft, would be to get that number 1 receiver so that Bowers is not the number 1 guy. Right? Like, obviously, he's the number 1 guy, but it's different because he's a tight end. Mm-hmm. If they had a number 1 receiver to go with Bowers and Janty, and then Mendoza does what we think Mendoza can do, that would be pretty sweet.
Is there a certain point of the season where you think Mendoza needs to get into action just so you see what he can do?
Here's the thing about the Raiders. I think that we project them in the book to not be a very good team. Mm-hmm. It's possible that we're wrong, but I think the most likely story where we're wrong is that Mendoza wins the job from the beginning and is great as a rookie, like Jaden Daniels was 2 years ago. I just don't see a situation where Cousins leads this team to the playoffs based on how he's played for the last year or two. What you need to do is take the gamble. Mendoza probably wouldn't either, but the upside is much higher. So I feel like the sooner you see Mendoza, the better.
Aaron Schatz is with us here on Raider Nation Radio 920 Unnecessary Roughness. So let's just live in the world that Kirk Cousins, say, wins the job coming out of training camp. How long would you give him, or would it just really truly be based off of how the Raiders play week in and week out?
I think it's based on how the Raiders play week in and week out, because if you want to try to make the playoffs, and the idea of having the veteran quarterback is you want to try to make the playoffs, then you don't bring in the rookie until you're out, until you're out of the playoffs. And that may be week 9, but it may be week 14 when you're like, okay, you know what? It's not happening this year. Let's bring in Mendoza and see, get him start getting him some experience. So it sort of depends. I mean, if Cousins proves me wrong and they win some games, then he stays as the quarterback for longer. If I'm right and they're not winning games, then they're going to want to turn to Mendoza sooner.
You mentioned the number one wide receiver, and the Raiders don't have that guy right now, and we all agree that they don't. But they do have Jack Bech and Dante Thornton Jr., guys that you mentioned in your piece on ESPN.com. How big of a mistake was it for the Raiders not to learn who these guys could be last year when they were rookies?
A little bit of one, yeah. Bech especially, golly, they really didn't play him that much. It was kind of strange. So, yeah, you would hope this year that they run these guys out there and see what they could do, especially Bech, being that he was a second-round pick and, more highly regarded coming out of college.
When you look at him and what you saw him coming out of college, whether it was LSU or TCU, what did you see from Jack?
I mean, he was all right in our projections. I'm not a scout. That's not my forte, so it's hard for me to say, that he's good on this kind of route or that he's, particularly like a catch radius guy or a physical guy. I mean, I know that he's known as a good blocker for the run, so that's positive. But, I think we need to see more of him in the NFL. I want to see guys in the NFL to know what they can do in the NFL.
No, I agree with you 100%, and he only had 20 catches. It's like every time he caught the ball last year, it was for a first down. He just didn't catch very many balls, right? He wasn't on the grass very much, so we really didn't get to learn who he could be in the NFL, as you mentioned. Again, Aaron Schatz is with us here. Unnecessary Roughness, RaiderNation Radio, 920. Again, going to the offensive line, and some young guys, and DJ Glaze and JPJ, Jackson Powers Johnson. JPJ has been kind of up and down. There's been, confusion of what position he's going to play, whatever the case may be. He's going into year 3 now, Aaron. How big of a training camp and even year do you think this could be for JPJ?
I mean, it's really important. Third year is about when you give up on guys if you don't feel like they're making it happen. And I will point out, it was a very small sample size for both of them, especially Grant. But Charles Grant and Caleb Rogers actually did very well in ESPN's pass block win rate last year when they did play. So I think there's going to be some competition for jobs here.
It feels like it. That's one of the big storylines going into training camp as everything gets going coming up next week. Well, another guy that you mentioned in your piece, he just signed his rookie deal today, is Jamad McCoy. First-round talent, went to the 4th round due to injuries. How do you – is he just kind of like a wild card because you don't know the health, or how do you view Jamad McCoy right now?
Wild card because you don't know the health, but the youth is fantastic, right? You think about what he did last year against, as a 20-year-old playing some guys that would be 22, 23. He doesn't turn 21 until August 16th. There's so much room for growth there. That's the advantage of having a young player like that, or someone like Kenyon Sadiq from the Jets, who's also really young. Like, there's just much more opportunity for growth.
Yeah, no, there really is, and so I think a lot of people are excited just to see what he can do coming up, and obviously training camp for rookies is tomorrow, but the veterans report coming up next week. Well, really good stuff, Aaron. Again, let us know about the Football Almanac. It's out right now, the preseason guide. Tell us about it and tell us where to get it.
Yeah, if you go to ftnfantasy.com/almanac, there's a sample chapter there if you want to read about Indianapolis and what we think about them, and that gives you an idea of what you'll find in the book for all 32 teams, or search on Amazon for FTN Football Almanac 2026.
Really good stuff as always, my man. Thanks so much. Appreciate you. Your article on ESPN.com was fantastic. Thanks so much for giving us some time.
All right. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Aaron Schatz right there, FTN Fantasy. He's the Chief Analytics Officer right there, and also ESPN, and you can find his article on ESPN.com. Again, ranking NFL teams by under 25 talent. The Patriots and the Texans, it went Patriots number 1. Last year they ranked 7th. They came in at number 1 this year. The Texans ranked number 2. Last year they were number 1. The Bears came in at number 3. The year before, they were ranked number 5. The Browns at 4. Last year, they were ranked 29th, so they turned that roster over in a major way. The Titans at 5. Last year, they ranked 9th. And then the Raiders, who were ranked 11th last year, come in at number 6. So thanks to Aaron Schatz for his time. We definitely appreciate you. Got some more feedback along the text line and the phone line at 702-365-9200. I do want to add real quick, I mentioned that if another guest is added to the show, we'd pass it along. Well, we've got Jim Wyatt, Titans.com. He's been covering the Tennessee Titans for like a glove for a very long time. He'll join us coming up at 4 o'clock. So we've got Kay Cabot, Cleveland.com at 3:30, talking all things Browns, and Jim Wyatt, Titans.com, talking all things Tennessee Titans. That'll be at 4 o'clock. But we do want to hear from you in the meantime, in between time, at 702-365-9200. 2 things you want to learn about this team by the end of training camp. Let us know your thoughts. Let's go out to the money man, not Floyd. Money Mitch, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
How you doing, Q, Ari?
Fantastic, brother. How about you?
Pretty good. I gotta be kind of quiet here. I'm trying to get my little Jeremiah to sleep. It's about around 40 minutes. I saw what you would mention about, you were saying that how you sometimes try to feel crazy. I thought you were going to me because that must be like 98% of the time. And don't you second that, okay?
All right.
Only I can knock down. Only I can put myself down. All in jest. All in fun. I wanted to make it as quick as Shields up. Great call. I think I want to see if we get the pass game going, especially with Mendoza. I'm not worried about the running backs. And I want to see if we can lead the league in sacks. That might be asking too much, but those are my 2 top things. Q,
okay.
Have a blessed day. Ari, bless you and our peeps. And, of course, Mrs. Mars. I don't want to be on her bad side again.
I know that's right. Money Mitch, really good call, man. Look at that. Quick, fast, and in a hurry right there from Money Mitch. See what happens when he tries to be quiet and make sure that the youngster doesn't wake up or he doesn't disturb the youngster. Look at that. See, he's looking out for the grandchild. He ain't always looking out for us. But, no, really good call, Money Mitch. Thanks so much. We definitely appreciate you. Barry of Henderson, he said on the text line, great question, Q. The 2 questions I have is, are wide receiver Jack Besh and Dante Thornton Jr., and then, of course, it disappeared, are they who we believe and expected to be? And I want to see how we utilize running back Mike Washington Jr. I heard he was explosive, has explosive abilities. Will we try him on special teams in explosive situations? I'm curious to see. Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know how much Mike Washington Jr. is going to be in there, but how do they use that 1-2 punch? Similar to what Aaron Schatz was saying in Seattle last year, and if you check out his FTN Football Almanac, the preseason guide, it just explains how Seattle's offense really looked last year. He talks about the 2-back, that explosive and that physicality. Well, we all know that Genty's going to get the majority of the carries, but how do they use Washington to complement him? Right? Is he going to get a couple touches a game? Is it going to be closer to 50-50? I don't believe it will, but until we see it, we don't know. If you want to talk about some physicality, and he has explosiveness too, but just go back and Google Mike Washington Jr. versus Texas. That's all you got to do. There is a hit that he lays. You want to talk about hit stick, right? Like you're playing Madden back in the day. There is an absolute hit stick moment from Mike Washington Jr., and that just shows you what he can do. Now, ball security was a thing. That can't be a thing, right? You can't have problems holding on to the rock. If you have problems holding on to the rock, ask Dylan Lobby what happens, right? Dylan Lobby touched the ball one time in 2024 and got sat down after he fumbled. Right? He never was the same. Right? Zamir White had that issue. Put the ball on the ground a couple times. Wasn't one that they brought to the front of the congregation to run the rock too many more times. Right? I mean, it's just the reality of it. Ball security is key. You have to be able to maintain ball security. The games are too tight. I always say the NFL is really, more times than not, a one-score league. You can't turn the rock over. You've got to protect the ball at all times. Reason why Geno Smith was so bad last year. What did he not do? Protect the ball. Got to protect the ball. So that's something that's on Mike Washington Jr., but he does have explosiveness. He does have physicality. And I would love to see how they implement that 1-2 punch between him and Genty and Washington. And does Roman Hemby make the squad? Does he factor in there at all? I think that's a hell of a 3-headed monster. Everyone keeps talking about what is Dylan Lobby going to do offensively. I don't think much. And that's not a shot at him. I just think the talent is upgraded in the room. Sometimes you look around and say, hey, man, that dude's just better than him. More talented than him at that position. I think Dylan Lobby is a really good special teams guy. And I think that that's okay. You could be a really good special teams guy. If that can carve out a hell of a career in the NFL, you think you wouldn't take that? Of course you'd take that. And I think that Dylan Lobby, that's a good role for him as far as I'm concerned. But that's me. We'll see how it plays out in training camp, and we'll also see how it plays out during the preseason. 702-365-9200. From one Mitch to another, we go from New Jersey to Sacramento. Mitch in Sacramento, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
What up, Q? Thanks for having me. Thanks for taking my call.
Absolutely.
Shout shout out Money Mitch in New Jersey real quick. I love tuning in when he calls, man. Anyway, look, I want to answer your question. I want to address the elephant in the room. I feel like there's a lot of oversight being had or just overlooking on, like, our offensive line. Yes, signing Tyler Lindenbaum was fantastic. Major upgrade. Absolutely. That didn't fix the offensive line to me. I'm sorry. In my opinion, it's not fixed. We have a leader now. We have someone who can get us in the right direction. But there's still, like, Colton Miller wasn't great. He was injured, right? Hopefully he's back to 100%. Left guard is a huge question mark. Is JPJ going to start in right guard? And right tackle Glaze, like, I love Glaze staying in the spot. But do I think he's the starter? These are all question marks to me. The only non-question mark is Lindenbaum. And so that's my biggest question for the offseason. Yes, we upgraded. But is it enough? Did it put us in the right direction? We're going to have to find that out. And then number two is going to be the linebackers, right? I mean, somebody alluded to it earlier when we got Robbie Leonard, we got Kobe Dean and Quay Walker. Like, these are all new guys, but, like, the biggest Achilles heel in our defense in my entire life has been middle linebacker. In the past 25 years, we suck at middle linebacker. We need that to be solid. So those are two biggest things for me. I hope I'm not alone in that thought. I feel like, those are valid points, and I just want to see it all come together. I want to see this thing come together really well. I want to know if there's actually fire with the smoke on the Justin Jefferson trade that's going on social media. I don't really want to buy into it. There's too much to give away and all that, but yeah, there's definitely a lot that still needs to be done. I'm here for it, though. Thanks for taking my call, Q.
All right, really good call, Mitch. Please don't let that be your last call, man. That was fantastic. From one Mitch to the other, great stuff. I think those are all valid, right? And Amber Thea Harris brought up Colton Miller and his health yesterday, I should say. He literally played 4 games, right? He was banged up and he didn't return. So you had Stone Forsythe holding it down at the left tackle spot. Colton Miller's not getting younger. The one thing I know about getting older, and I don't have to be a professional athlete to tell you this, we don't get healthier, right? The older we get, it's not like all of a sudden, hey, man, I sure feel like a spring chicken today. No, especially as long as Miller's been in the trenches and holding down that left tackle spot, he is solid, and I'm glad to see him back. I'm glad to see him back healthy, but can he stay healthy throughout the course of the year? That's a great question. Like I said, Amber Thea Harris, she pointed that out yesterday when she joined the show. We don't know until we do. If he's able to be out there for all 17, fantastic. But what if he's only out there for 6? And that's, again, going back to the Trey Zunes of the world. That's going back to the Charles Grants of the world. That's going back to the depth that you feel like that this team could have on the offensive line, but do they all fit together? Linderbaum is that solid piece, right? There's no doubt. He's still young. He's that big free agent acquisition. You feel good about him moving forward. But JPJ, unfortunately, as much as people don't want to hear it, has had a problem staying on the field. Is all of a sudden that going to go away this year? He's literally played 23 out of 34 possible games. That's not good for an offensive lineman, right? If an offensive lineman misses a couple games, that's what you want it to be, a couple games. You don't want him to miss that many games. He played 8 games last year. So is he going to be able to stay out there? Caleb Rogers, small sample size, but as Aaron Schatz pointed out, Rogers and Grant and small sample size look good. So is that the future? Could there be a world where, let's just rock with me here. Just rock with me. We're just throwing it out there. Is there a world where Trey Zune ends up being the left tackle of the future for the Raiders, with Caleb Rogers as the left guard, with Tyler Linderbaum as the center, with insert whoever you want to put there at the right guard, JPJ or whatever at the right guard, and then DJ Glaze or Charles Grant, or maybe Charles Grant at the right tackle, DJ Glaze is the right guard. Is there a world that could be a possibility? Because sooner rather than later, Colton Miller is not going to be that solid piece that you've had at that left tackle spot for every reason that Mitch just brought up. That's not a bad call at all. That's a really good one. And just when Will's the one who brought up the questions about the linebacking room, and he's been asking about it. Like, when we ask about what questions do you have, what position groups, linebackers. Just when Will's been pounding that into our head. Like Fabian pounds -4 into our head, just when Will's been pointing out the linebackers. That yes, they're improved, the names are improved. Quay Walker and Nakobe Dean. One, is Nakobe going to stay healthy? And does that mean there's going to be more DBs on the field? What does that linebacking room look like? Really good call, Mitch. Definitely appreciate that. I think that's the first time that's happened. Back-to-back Mitch. Right? That's cool. I like that. Sign me up for that one. That'll work. Matter of fact, every time Money Mitch calls, I'm going to need Mitch in Sacramento to call. Clean it up. That, like, he'll translate it. That's what Money Mitch said. Now here's Mitch in Sacramento to come clean it up. So, yeah, it'll be yes, that's what I'm talking about, right? It'll be that guy where you know that he understands what he's saying, but he's got to break it down into, okay, well, what he meant by this was, that's what we'll do. We'll have Money Mitch, and then we'll have Mitch in Sacramento. I like that. Really good stuff. I know one guy that doesn't need anyone to clean it up for him is Snake Man. Snake Man, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, what's going on, man? It's been a while. Like Ari said, man, now that I'm calling in some of the other regulars, got to be getting close to regular season here,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just trying to get through the doldrums of the summer here. It's like 100 degrees in Columbia, South Carolina, so it's like, just mustering through it. Hey, there are enough questions with this roster. I'm going to let everyone else kind of chime in on those and do all that pontificating, but I have one big question.
Okay.
My question is not two, it's just one. I want to know and see how this head coach who is completely unproven as a head coach, I want to see his game day decisions. I want to see his clock management, because they're like anything, he's probably going to take his lumps in that phase. I'm hoping for the best, but at the same time, I think we need to kind of just pump the brakes a bit on Kubiak, a first-year head coach, and possibly give him a little bit of leeway here on his game day decisions, time management, etc. Thoughts on that, and I'll hit you back maybe later in the week. Okay.
I appreciate you, Snake Man. Really good call, man. It's always good to hear from you. Thanks so much for that. And game time decisions, right? It's one thing to be able to call plays, but what are you doing on fourth down? Are you going for it? What are you? That's game management, clock management, everything. I mean, because we grill coaches all the time that make those bad decisions, right? Make those bad decisions when it comes to what they're looking to try to do and how to put themselves in better position before halftime and how to manage timeouts. And I think that's fair. There's a whole staff full of, the analytic guys, the clock management guys, but it's also got to be instincts from the coach. And some of those coaches, they really have that natural instinct of how to do everything and how to make it happen. And some don't, to your point. And so that's something that Coach Kubiak is going to have to prove. We won't know that. We won't know that by the end of training camp. We won't know that until, as you pointed out, till the regular season and it gets rolling and we just kind of see how things go. And again, I referenced the conversation we had with Amberthea Harris on yesterday. You probably won't know how good of a coach he possibly could be until, a lot of the season is already in the books, just to see how things have gone from start to finish or start to wherever you're at that stage of the game. Again, very fair breakdown and assessment of what you're looking for coming up, learning about Clint Kubiak. So keep that feedback coming on the text line, 702-365-9200. 2 things you want to learn about this team by the end of training camp. Let us know your thoughts. Again, 702-365-9200. We're going to learn about the Cleveland Browns. We'll do that next with Mary Kay Cabot as she joins the show from Cleveland.com. It's RaiderNation Radio 920.
The main thing I've seen is it just work. Sean's had his own problems throughout the league, but he's still a great quarterback. You see him dominate. He's got that vet presence of someone that's done this for a good little bit. You got Shador, who, that dude's confidence is unparalleled. The way he goes out there, the way he throws that, at the moment, you might be like, what? And then he dots him, he connects him, you can't even say too much about it. These are 2 great quarterbacks. I'm honestly excited to see how it goes further in the preseason. But so far, I've just seen 2 elite quarterbacks battling it out.
It's the Raiders opponent preview. Right now on Unnecessary Roughness.
That was the new Brown right there, Jared Verse. He goes to Cleveland in the Myles Garrett trade, and now he's going to carve his own lane with the Browns. And, of course, the Raiders play the Browns in Week 12. That's November 29th when they make the road trip to Cleveland and take them on. That's at 10 a.m. Pacific time kickoff. But Jared Verse talking about the Browns quarterback room. Obviously, that's a big question moving forward. That was from Good Morning Football. It's Unnecessary Roughness here on Raider Nation Radio 920. A young lady that knows all things Cleveland Browns. Her name is Kay Cabot. She joins us now on the phone lines. You can find her work at cleveland.com. And Mary Kay, thanks so much for your time. You know, we appreciate you. So let's start right there with the quarterback room. You heard Jared Verse talk about Deshaun Watson and Shedeur Sanders. How do you think this quarterback competition, plays out during training camp?
I think it's going to be very exciting. I think these guys are kind of running neck and neck as they head into training camp. And I think Todd Monken is going to really let it play out, give these guys an opportunity to show what they can do. I think it will stretch into the preseason games. I don't think he's going to make any announcement until, who knows, maybe not even until after the last preseason game, maybe not until before the first week of the season. So not really sure how that's all going to go yet, but I do think that, that it's going to be quite a heated battle, and I think both of these guys are going to show out pretty well in camp.
I had someone tell me who's a pretty big Browns fan, I don't understand the point of Deshaun Watson because he's not the future, and maybe we should just let Shedeur Sanders show what he can do. What would be the main value in having Deshaun Watson out there?
Well, no one can say with any real conviction that Deshaun Watson can't be part of the Cleveland Browns' future. If he can get his career back on track and if he's healthy, he is a heck of a quarterback. And if he's that Houston version of himself, it's hard to find a quarterback like that. And he's only 30 years old. So it's not like he's 35 and completely washed up. If he can return to that level, now it's a big if coming off of 2 Achilles surgeries and a shoulder surgery. But if he can return to that type of play, there's no telling how he can get his career back on track here.
And when it comes to Shedeur Sanders, obviously Kevin Stefanski was the head coach last year. Now Todd Monken, as you mentioned, is the guy this year. How much of a challenge is it for him going from one system to another system in 2 quick years?
Well, I don't think that it will be too hard for Deshaun to make that transition because Todd Monken has been working with Lamar Jackson for the past 3 years, and he really likes to have a dual-threat quarterback. And we know that Deshaun Watson is all about that. And Shedeur, the same thing with Shedeur. He does not necessarily have to, have a whole different offense for himself because he can get the job done from a mobility standpoint as well. He's not as athletic as Deshaun, but he can slip away from sacks. He can slip and slide and avoid some sacks, and he can step up in the pocket. He can do some things, and I do think that he will be able to run the kind of offense that Todd likes to run.
Mary Kay Cabot, Cleveland.com, is with us here on Raider Nation Radio 920. What has been your overall thoughts on Todd Monken since he's been the head coach there in Cleveland?
Well, he's bringing a lot of emotion. He wears his emotions out on his sleeve. He talks in a way that Kevin Stefanski didn't. I mean, he's sort of an emotional roller coaster. He shoots from the hip. He'll say anything, really. And, I think that's just so different than what you got from Kevin Stefanski, who was real buttoned down about everything. We'll see which one proves to be better for the Cleveland Browns or who goes farther with that type of strategy. But it is definitely a different vibe and a different feel.
Last season, the Cleveland Browns came here to Vegas to Allegiant Stadium, as you know, and the strength of the team, no doubt about it, was Myles Garrett and that defense. What are your expectations heading into training camp about the strength of this Browns team for 2026?
Well, it's going to be really interesting because Jared Verse is going to have a lot on his plate. He has to try to follow in the footsteps of Myles Garrett, and that is no easy task. But I think there are other guys on that defensive line that are going to be able to step up and pitch in and do their part. And I think you've got a second-year player in Mason Graham. I think he's ready to break out even more than he did last year. You've got Alex Wright over on the other side, who I think he's ready in his own right to establish himself as a formidable edge rusher. And it's a good, stout defensive line. So I think they'll be okay. They'll just have to spread the wealth a little bit and maybe not get all of their sack production from one guy.
How does the defense change now that Jim Schwartz is not manning that defense? He's not the defensive coordinator anymore.
Well, there will be some differences, but there will be a lot of carryover. They're keeping almost all of the same assistant coaches and most of the defensive personnel. Now, Mike Rutenberg will do some things differently in the back end probably, maybe more zone and things like that. Maybe he'll blitz more. So there will be nuances that you'll see. But I think for the most part, you're going to see pretty much the same scheme that you saw under Jim Schwartz, and certainly with most of the same personnel.
Talking all things Browns right now with Mary Kay Cabot, Cleveland.com, with us here on Raider Nation Radio 920. So what would you say, at least at this stage of the game, you look at as a weakness for Cleveland?
Well, I don't know if you would call it a weakness, but the big unknown factor heading into this season is how is the overhauled offensive line going to fare? They have 5 new guys, 5 new starters on that offensive line, and no one knows how it's all going to come together yet. So that's the area to kind of keep an eye on as they head into camp.
I haven't seen that before. I know you've been covering the Browns for quite a while. Have you ever seen 5 new guys on the offensive line before?
Somebody did it last year. But in Cleveland, no, I have not seen that. They've been established for quite a while with some of their guys like Joel Bitonio, and then of course Joe Thomas was a fixture here for so long. So they've had some decent continuity on the line, but it was time to sort of rip off the Band-Aid, start over, and just go with a new starting 5.
Yeah, that's an interesting in development right there. We talk about the offensive line coming together for the Raiders, and a couple guys have to fit in there. All 5 of those guys have to come together there in Cleveland. So with that being said, I guess what do you look at or view as an X factor, something that others like us might not be looking at the Cleveland Browns and thinking is there?
Well, I think the receiving core is something to really take a look at. They added 2 rookie receivers. Those guys looked really good in OTAs and minicamp, Casey Concepcion and Denzel Boston. So I think the Browns, in addition to overhauling their offensive line, I think they significantly upgraded their pass-catching core. And when you couple those guys with what they had before, Isaiah Bond and Jerry Jeudy, and then tight end Harold Fannin, they might be onto something here in the weapons department. And now it's up to Todd Monken to sort of bring out that explosiveness in all of them.
Casey Concepcion was a guy that got a lot of buzz at the scouting combine in Indianapolis, the young man out of Texas A&M. What have you seen from him so far? Small sample size, obviously, but what have you seen from him since he's been there in Cleveland?
Just the versatility, the agility, the speed, the shiftiness. He can play inside. He can play outside. He can run the jet sweeps. He can do so many things. Now, the thing with him, people wonder, are his hands going to be reliable enough? I saw him maybe drop a few passes early on in OTAs, but then he tightened that up, cleaned that all up, and he was pretty much dynamite the rest of the way. So I think both of those rookie receivers are going to make some noise this year.
Has there been any kind of, I guess, from the wide receivers or the playmakers, and again, I mean, training camp not really going yet, but has there been any indication of who they vibe better with at the quarterback position, or is it kind of up in the air at this stage of the game?
It's still up in the air at this stage of the game. I wouldn't say that one of those guys has an edge over the other in that regard. They just got back from a passing camp down in Miami. Deshaun Watson organized it, and then Shador sort of co-hosted it with him. So it was those guys and then all of the top receivers. They really did a nice job with all of their timing and their chemistry down there. So it's going to be really interesting to see what it looks like when they put it out on the grass starting next week.
It seems like they have a really good relationship, even though they're both really competing for the same job.
Well, they are presenting a united front, and I think that's great. It's great for the team because the last thing that you want is a quarterback competition dividing the team. I don't see that happening. It will be heated. It will be a battle, but I think these guys will stick together.
Last question for you. Fantastic stuff as always. Mary Kay Cabot, Cleveland.com is with us here on RaiderNation Radio 920. Carson Schlesinger has been getting all kind of praise, right? The second-round pick last year, defensive rookie of the year. I mean, expectations are super high. How do you see him growing with this Browns defense?
Well, I think he is going to take a step up after his rookie year, even though he had a tremendous rookie year. I think he has a chance to play at an all-pro level this year, even though at times I thought he did that last year. So now he can take his game to the next level with maybe forcing some more turnovers, maybe blitzing a little bit more. They need to get some of that sack production elsewhere, so maybe they let him do some of that. And then he's now going to be paired with Quincy Williams, who came from the Jets as a free agent. He knows Mike Rutenberg's system. They've spent a lot of time together, those two. And I think that will help bring out the best in Carson as well.
Yeah, he was a great pick in the second round last year, as you know. I don't have to tell you that at all. Well, great stuff as always. You know, we definitely appreciate you. What are you working on that we should be on the lookout for? Maybe learn a little bit more about the Browns.
Oh, I just got done with a series on, all of us did that cover the team. We did 15 Browns questions for 26, and it should get everybody ready for camp. We've got podcasts, we've got stories, and the latest one that went up today was, can Deshaun Watson stave off Shedeur Sanders for the Browns starting quarterback job?
Well, we'll see a lot of the Browns November 29th. The Raiders travel to Cleveland to take on those Browns. That is Week 12. Mary Kay, thanks so much for your time. You know we appreciate you. Great stuff as always.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Really good stuff. Mary Kay Cabot, Cleveland.com. She is the queen of Cleveland. She's got the Browns covered like a glove and has had them covered like a glove for a very long time. We definitely appreciate her. And, I told her, as you heard, that, I had someone tell me that Deshaun Watson is not the future. So what's the point of running him out there and not getting Shedeur out there? And, that was my guy, Emmett. Emmett covers the Browns as well, and he's not really high on Deshaun. He doesn't think that they'll re-sign him. That's the biggest thing. He doesn't think they'll re-sign him because of the monstrous contract. But, she's saying that there could be a chance, and he is still young. I mean, I guess when you think about it, knowing he's only 30 is kind of wild. Right? It seems like from everything that we've seen from Deshaun when he came out of Clemson to when he was the mayor of Houston to when he fell out of favor in Houston to all of a sudden all the off-the-field issues in Houston and then traded to Cleveland, getting the 100% fully guaranteed contract, never been seen before, and then more of the fallout. It sounds like that dude has lived like for 3 people already, right? And he's only 30 years old. That's what's wild to think. We were talking to Stacey Joe Ross yesterday, who covers the Seahawks, and Sam Darnold's only 29, and it seems like he's been around for a really long time. So apparently, lesson here is I'm just getting really old, and I've been around for a very long time, and I've seen these guys grow up like you see the guys grow up in the barbershop, and then you realize, man, I remember you when your daddy used to bring you in here. Now you're coming in on your own. Oh, now you're coming in on your own. You got your kids that you're bringing with you. That's when you know that you're getting old. So, man, oh, man, Deshaun Watson, only 30 years old. That is pretty wild. We hear from you as we close out hour number 2. We'll do that next at 702-365-9200. What are 2 things that you want to learn about this team by the end of training camp? Let us know your thoughts. Again, 702-365-9200. It's RaiderNation Radio 920.
Bastian Swinney takes his place as Mendoza is picked. Jermon McCoy on the first play after the injury stoppage.
I mean, it was probably one of the top moments of my life, my first college pick. We talked after that game, too, just chopped it up a little bit. But, I mean, it was good to know we finna be on the same team, too. The best quarterback in college football, now finna be the best in the league.
Now back to Unnecessary Roughness with your boy Q. Presented by Meineke, doing car care right.
Little McCoy on Mendoza crime right there, going all the way back to 2023. Jermon McCoy got his first college interception off of Fernando Mendoza, who at that time was a Cal quarterback. Again, that was October 7th, 2023, as my man Ari really dug deep into the crates right there to find that one, and you heard what McCoy had to say. Now it's a full circle moment as they are teammates, and, well, it's also taking a step further, the last 2 guys on the Raiders that don't have their contract signed. Jermon McCoy took care of his side of things today, getting his contract taken care of. And we know Fernando Mendoza, his will happen sooner rather than later. But the rookies do report to training camp coming up on tomorrow. It's Unnecessary Roughness here on RaiderNation Radio 920. Jim Wyatt, Titans.com, joins us at the top of the hour. Talk all things Tennessee Titans, strengths, weaknesses, and X factors for Tennessee, who the Raiders will play in Week 16. That's December 27th. They'll be at Allegiant Stadium, the Tennessee Titans. But we'll do that coming up at 4 o'clock. Right now, we want to hear from you, 702-365-9200. The question that I threw out there today to you was not a Q original. This one actually came from Alex Eshelman from Channel 13. She had me at the TV station earlier, and she asked me this question. I thought, man, that's a really good question. I'm going to go ahead and ask Raider Nation because I know the Raider Nation is about their business. 2 things you want to learn about this team by the end of training camp. What would you say it is? Let's go out to San Carlos, talk to our friend Scott. Scott, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, thanks, Q. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
So the funny thing is you actually took one of mine with the O-line. I would love to find out who the heck is going to start at what position on the O-line. But having said that, I have another two. First one that I think is actually the biggest one for me is figuring out what Rob Leonard's going to run as the base defense. Are we really going to go 3-4? Is it actually going to just be, occasionally they line up 3-4? Just like, what's the base defense? I'm very curious about that because I think that's going to have a lot of impact, of course, on what the linebackers look like and possibly even who's coming up to play safety. So that would definitely be one of mine. And then the other one is, putting Mendoza aside, I'd love to find out a better idea of what, if any, of the rookies from this class have a chance to start, or at the very least, play on Sundays, whether or not they're actually the starter, if they're a rotational piece. That'd be probably the two biggest things I'm curious about.
That'll work. Hey, really good call, Scott. As always, definitely appreciate you. And, yeah, I mean, look, it's funny. When the Raiders had their draft class, I said the two guys that I thought were going to be day one starters would be Traden Stukes, the second-round pick out of Arizona, and then Trey Zune, the third-round pick out of Texas A&M. I'm going to stick with that until I'm proven wrong, right? I feel like Stukes, I think a lot of people think he's going to be a day one starter. Zune will be a big question because of your first answer. Right, the offensive line and who's going to man that offensive line, right? And that's my thing. I felt like with his versatility, with his experience in the SEC in particular, he would have a really good chance at starting. But Caleb Rogers is the guy they like. Charles Grant is the guy they like. Obviously different positions, but, obviously JPJ is part of the mix, right? He's going to be there. They brought in Spencer Burford. He has experience and can play the guard position. So there's a lot of mixing and matching that could go on early in training camp. And as I said, I really hope that they establish that five guys, those five starters, sooner rather than later, and they can start working on being all on the same page. But, that's really going to depend. There could be a guy like Jermod McCoy. We just spent time talking about him. He got his contract signed today. If healthy, right, he very easily could be a day one starter. He's kind of that wild card because we don't know what the plan is moving forward. I do believe that if the Raiders feel comfortable with him out there consistently, he could be a starter too. And now all of a sudden you're looking at a secondary that could be pretty salty because McCoy, even though he didn't play last year, what he's been able to do over the course of his career has been really good, right? I mean, you want to talk about a guy that's got production, ball production. He absolutely has it. Right, I mean, he spent 2 seasons at Tennessee, 24-25, after spending time and transferring from Oregon State. Played in 25 career games, 18 starts, 75 total tackles, 16 pass defense, and 6 picks during his career. That's not bad. Not bad at all. That shows that the guy can play the ball. He's very comfortable in breaking on the ball, making plays on the ball. So if they feel comfortable with him and he's picking up the scheme and what Robbie Leonard and Coach Woods and everyone is trying to emphasize, he could be a guy as well. I mean, there could be 2 to 3 starters from this rookie class that are not named Fernando Mendoza. And that was what I was talking about going into the draft. I was hoping the Raiders were going to draft 3 starters, not named Fernando Mendoza. That was the goal. We did shows on that, right? And my biggest thing coming out of the draft, grab 3 starters that is not named Fernando Mendoza. And maybe they did. Stukes, Zune, and possibly McCoy. If all of a sudden week 1 against the Miami Dolphins, you see those 3 dudes roll out there, you got to feel pretty good about the direction that John Spytek's draft class has gone. And even if Zune's not a starter, the fact that he's as versatile as he is, I definitely believe he's going to be dressed and be active on game day because he can fill the void. If anybody happens to go down, he can slide into that position. And that's something that Clint Kubiak has talked about when he met with us about Trey Zune, that they want him to get comfortable and familiar with all the positions. So in a pinch, he can be that guy. That you're limited on game day about how many guys are actually active and dressed. He could be that guy. That's how he could do himself a favor. Hey, I want to be active. I want to be available every game. Okay, well, learn all the positions. You learn all the positions, I can't keep you off the field. I know that in case of emergency, I could break glass and throw you in there, and we'll be good. And we know how injuries are in the National Football League. You don't want to have to go to a guy that you're not feeling too comfortable, but he's the last line of defense. This guy you feel pretty good about, so he might not necessarily turn into a day one starter, but he might be a guy that sees quite a bit of action based off how everything plays out. Keep that feedback coming at 702-365-9200. Jim Wyatt joins us as we kick off hour number 3 next. It's RaiderNation Radio 920.
Shotgun, Smith's gonna throw. Clean pocket, scans, throws. Michael Mayer at the goal line. Turns, touchdown Raiders! Gino looked all over the field, and he followed Michael Mayer. His first touchdown in 2 years. And the Raiders take a 9-0 lead with 5:13 to go in the second.
It's the Raiders opponent preview. Right now on Unnecessary Roughness.
Michael Mayer, we've heard that name a few times today on the show. Would love to hear that name more times consistently throughout the course of the season, right? Going into the last year of his deal, guy that was drafted high in the second round, coming out of Notre Dame, still has not come to fruition, not been the guy that we thought he was going to be when the Raiders drafted him, but there's been so much turnover. Some is on him, some is on the organization. We'll see what he does this year with head coach Clint Kubiak. It is Unnecessary Roughness here on RaiderNation Radio 920. That touchdown that he caught was against the Tennessee Titans, and, well, the Tennessee Titans are the subject of our next conversation that we have here on RaiderNation Radio 920. If we're talking Titans, we can only be talking to one person. That's Jim Wyatt, covers the Tennessee Titans like a glove for Titans.com. And, Jim, thanks so much for your time. I do appreciate you. Cam Ward, year number 2. I know he didn't quite finish the year the way that everyone expected. He got banged up at the end, but he was getting better and getting better. You could see the improvement. What are your thoughts and expectations for Cam Ward going into year number 2?
Yeah, I do expect him to be better. Yeah, you're right. He did finish the season on a high note. His completion percentage went up. His interceptions went down. His touchdowns went up. He just looked like a better quarterback as the season went on. And I think, in year 2, having a year under his belt, having an offensive staff that has a really good idea of what they want to do with him, led by Brian Daboll, I think it should be better. Cam is a worker, and he's all about getting better and putting the work in. He spent time with his receivers during the course of the off season, away from the building, and a little inconsistent during the course of the off season. But I think when training camp rolls around, I think with more weapons around him, I think he'll be better. Just how much better kind of remains to be seen.
Brian Daboll, obviously things didn't work out really well with him as the head coach of the Giants, but he's a proven offensive coordinator. How much do you think his knowledge and his skill set and really being able to hone in as the OC is going to help Cam Ward moving forward?
Well, I think it'll help him. I mean, Cam loves to be coached and doesn't mind the criticism, and Brian Daboll is all about, giving quarterbacks tough love and telling it like it is. He really liked Cam coming out. I mean, when he was with the Giants, he was one of the guys pushing for the Giants to draft Cam. So it's just the way things worked out. They're paired together here in Tennessee, but I think it's a good match. So that's a plus for Cam. Going out and signing Wan'Dale Robinson in free agency helps Cam. Drafting Carnell Tate 4th overall is going to help Cam. Having Daniel Bellinger, a tight end from the Giants, here as part of his weapons to throw to, that's going to help him. So a lot of things around him are improved. The big question mark here, and that plays a big part, as you know, in how the quarterback does, is the offensive line. I think if I had to name the biggest question mark going into the year, what's going to happen at center, what's going to happen at right guard, how quickly those come together. Titans need to see that develop in a positive manner for this thing to work.
Jim Wyatt, TennesseeTitans.com, is with us here on RaiderNation Radio 920, and the Raiders will be hosting the Titans on December 27th. That's Week 16. So we're doing a little strength, weakness, and X factor for each one of those teams. So what would you say, Jim, is the strength of this Tennessee Titans, or you think is going to be the strength of this Tennessee Titans team as training camp is right around the corner?
I think I'll probably go defense will turn out to be a strength, and hopefully, and for their sake, that will be shown by December. A lot of things new. This team is going from a 3-4 defense to a 4-3 defense, but it's doing it now under Robert Saleh, who obviously has proven to be a defensive mind. developed that reputation, especially with the 49ers in recent years. And, in addition to Jeffrey Simmons, this team, went out and got Cordell Flott and Alante Taylor, a couple of corners in free agency, signed John Franklin Myers, a defensive lineman that should help this team up front. Got some other young guys developing at linebacker. And I just think with the scheme and with Gus Bradley's influence as well, I think defense is going to be one of this team's strengths. I hate to say receiver yet because, even though they're better there, I mentioned Robinson, I mentioned Tate, Calvin Ridley's back, got a couple of second-year guys who I think should be ascending in Chimere Dike and Alec Ayomana, but they've got some prove-it guys, and we're going to have to see that play out. But that potentially could be a strength as this season goes on, too.
How much is it going to help Robert Saleh that he does have a guy like Brian Daboll to be the OC where it'll allow Robert Saleh not to have to put too much hands on that offense and just really focus in on that defense?
Well, I think that's huge, and I think the big thing in Tennessee with this coaching staff is they've got some veteran coaches, Daboll included. The problem, Brian Callahan, who was one of the nicest guys you'll ever find, who was the head coach of the Titans up until that game lost against the Raiders. The Titans lost in Las Vegas last year is what prompted change. The team came back, and Callahan was fired the next day. Brian Callahan, when he was hired as the head coach, hired a first-year offensive coordinator, a first-year defensive coordinator, a first-year special teams coach, and they made mistakes on Sundays and had to kind of grow on the job. Robert Saleh, we talk a lot about Brian Daboll as an offensive coordinator, but this is a guy who's got head coaching capability, who has been a head coach in the past. Gus Bradley, the defensive coordinator, has been a head coach in the past. John Fossil, the special teams coach, has been an interim head coach in the past. So Robert Saleh put a veteran staff around him, and I think Daboll's influence especially will allow him to work a lot on the defensive side of the football and implement things the way he wants it done. It's something he doesn't have to worry about, frankly, and I think that's going to work to everyone's advantage.
One guy that I really liked that the Titans drafted in the second round was Anthony Hill Jr. We spent a lot of time here talking about the linebacker out of Texas. Kind of how do you envision Anthony fitting in with this Titans defense?
Well, I really like him. I've been impressed with him. He was really good in college. He came to Nashville, and then the very first OTA had an interception. They liked how he picked things up. Obviously, his strength is against the pass. They feel like if he keeps ascending and keeps on the track he was on during the offseason and training camp, he's going to put himself in a position to be out there, with the base defense. Now, a couple of veterans ahead of him, I shouldn't say ahead of them. There's a lot of guys going to be working in this defense, but Cody Barton, Cedric Gray, a couple of backers are going to be in the mix. I think Hill has a chance to make a role for himself in the defense, and he's obviously going to help on special teams, but he's just a football savvy guy, not only knows the playbook and knows the speed of the game, but knows the league. And I was impressed with him from his introductory, media availability, where he's naming players all across the league. He's going to be facing guys he looked up to, what he wants to do in the league. He's going to be a really good one.
Yeah, I think that Robert Saleh and Gus Bradley will really like Anthony Hill Jr. a lot. Again, the second-round pick linebacker out of Texas. Jim Wyatt is with us here talking all things Tennessee Titans on RaiderNation Radio 920. So the strength is the defense. What would you say and look at as a potential weakness for Tennessee in 2026?
Well, I think instead of saying weakness, I'm going to say biggest question mark because, the offensive line has, and I touched on this earlier, but I think the Titans are set at left tackle and Dan Moore, and set at right tackle and J.C. Latham, and set at left guard and Peter Skoronski. But center is a question mark. Right guard is a question mark. Heading into camp, it is a weakness because they've got guys who they've got two positions where they're not sure who the starter is going to be. I think Austin Sloatman, is is going to end up winning that center job. I think Cordell Volson probably the favorite to win the right guard spot. Both those guys have played some in other spots. They've got Jackson Slater, a draft pick from a year ago, who's going to be in the mix. They've got a couple of draft picks in Carmona and Coogan, one from Arkansas, one from Indiana, who are going to be in the mix interior. But it's a competition, and you know how tough it is for guys to gel. That's at least two new starters in the middle, and it's, I guess you can call it a weakness until proven otherwise. I am going to call it a question mark because those guys could turn out to be okay. Just don't know yet based on what we've seen. But that's one. I think probably depth is a weakness. I mean, Mike Briganja has done a great job in building this, retooling, rebuilding this roster, whatever you want to call it, since taking over. But they're still, kind of thin in spots, really good at some starting spots. But, I guess a weakness would have to be depth, because if you start having injuries, which are inevitable in the NFL, you're going to be putting guys in that just have not done it a lot. And that could cost you giving up plays, and it potentially could cost you games.
Well, the Raiders will be taking on the Tennessee Titans on December 27th. Again, Week 16. By that time, Fernando Mendoza from Indiana could be the starting quarterback, and Pat Coogan, who knows, from Indiana, the sixth-round pick, Aaron Center, could be playing for Tennessee. I know Fernando praised Pat a lot. I mean, I don't know from rookie minicamp if you got to see much of Pat, but if so, what have you seen from him so far?
Well, you're talking about an entertaining guy and a smart guy. Obviously, as you know, he started off at Notre Dame and then ended up at Indiana. He is an inspirational leader. Now, he hasn't shown that side of him yet because he's a rookie just trying to fit in, and he knows his role at this point, and it's not to gather the team around and lead them. But sure, you've seen some of his pregame speeches in Indiana where the team's rallying around him and he's lighting the fire underneath them. He's a leader. He's a good football player. I've seen him compete. I've seen him out there spending extra time on the field working, on individual stuff. He wants to find a role and wants to be on the field as quickly as he can. I think with him and with Carmona both, I think pads will tell us a lot more. I like what I've seen from him from just a athleticism standpoint, from a 1-2 standpoint. But when these pads come on and these guys are working against each other, when they're working in the joint practices, the Titans have 3 of them this year against other teams. I think that's when we'll know if he can carve out a role for himself, whether he can be a contender inside. But certainly like his makeup.
Jim Wyatt, TennesseeTitans.com, is with us here, Raider Nation Radio 920. We've done the strength, we've done the weakness, or the question mark. What would you say is the big X factor, or could be an X factor for Tennessee?
I think Carnell Tate. I mean, I hate to put pressure on a rookie, but based on what I saw during the course of OTAs and minicamp, this guy looks NFL ready, and that's hard to say for rookies. But he catches the ball effortlessly. He is a really good route runner, even though maybe his 40 time didn't blow people away. He plays fast. He got open on some balls this year, this offseason work, and made plays downfield. He's got early chemistry with Cam Ward. So he's a game-changing receiver. Wan'Dale Robinson, I think, ends up leading this team in catches just because he's going to play in the slot a lot. He's going to get open quickly. He's going to be a security blanket for Cam. But I think the big play X factor could end up being Tate, and just how quickly he gets up to speed is going to help determine how this team's going to be out of the gate.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember when he was drafted number 4 overall, a lot of people were surprised, like, whoa. But that's the dude from Ohio State, right? And they just put out wide receivers in the league, seems like every single year. I think he's going to be a big-time player. I really like that selection of Carnell Tate. What did you think when the Titans selected him number 4 overall?
Well, I think people around here, and I certainly understand it, I'm not going to say disappointed. They were but the buzz in Nashville leading up to the draft was that the Titans were going to take Jeremiah Love at number 4. But when the Cardinals picked him at 3, I know I was at the draft I was at the stadium in Nashville where they had a fan party, but when Jeremiah Love was taken, my understanding that there was like a gasp in the crowd because the player that the team had planned to pick was gone. And then everybody was wondering, what's this team going to do? I think a lot of people thought they would go defensive line or go edge rusher. This team did its homework on Tate, felt like he was different, felt like they've talked about giving Cam more weapons. And when they picked him, I liked it. And I think fans haven't seen him yet, but I know media covering the team has written a lot about him. I know some of his highlight reel catches on social media have gotten the fan base excited. And I think now the fan base is pumped about this guy. And I don't want to put too much pressure on him early because it takes receivers a while to get up to, speed with the NFL and what defenses do to young receivers. And so he's going to be challenged, but I think people are excited he's here and feel like he's got a big future ahead of him.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that 100%. Cornell Tate is a hell of a wide receiver. The Titans got a good one there early on in the draft. And, again, December 27th, that would be Week 16 is when Tennessee heads to Las Vegas. Well, Jim, fantastic stuff as always. What are you working on that we should be on the lookout for? Maybe learn a little bit more about the Tennessee Titans.
Well, I'm in the middle of these position previews. I think I've done eight down. I got 2 left. Quarterback. I got 3 left. I got cornerback running tomorrow. Safety run teams running Monday. We got the introductory press conference here on Tuesday, and then first day of practice is Wednesday. So we're back, and I know when I start these previews, we're getting close to training camp. So I'm ready. Looked out my window today, and the field, some of the lines are painted. You got the bleachers. It's football season.
Yes, we are back. We are back, no doubt about it, and it's good to be back, and it's good to hear your voice, Jim, as always, a wealth of knowledge when it comes to all things Tennessee Titans. Thanks so much for your time, my man, as always. We appreciate you.
Okay, appreciate you having me on. Have a good weekend.
All right, you do the same. Jim Wyatt right there. Fantastic stuff, TennesseeTitans.com. And like I said, when it comes to the Tennessee Titans, wealth of knowledge right there. And, man, we had a wealth of knowledge on the show today from Kay Cabot, Cleveland.com, Jim Wyatt, TennesseeTitans.com. It doesn't get too much more thorough than those two individuals covering those two teams, respectfully. So definitely appreciate that. Appreciate you, Ari, making that happen and getting that late addition to the show in Jim Wyatt. We do want to continue to hear from you at 702-365-9200. We've been having a really good conversation, a conversation that I didn't even know we were going to have today, right? Sometimes, I say it all the time, organically things happen. Alex Eshelman, who does a really good job covering the Raiders and all sports here in Vegas, had me come over to the studio for Channel 13 earlier today, and we were just chopping it up talking Raiders, and one of the questions she hit me with was, 2 things that I want to learn about this team by the end of training camp, and I thought, oh, man, I hadn't really thought about it like that. And so that's when I knew it was going to be a good question. And by the feedback that we received on the text line, the phone line, it has been a really good question. So that 20-minute or so segment that we did, we sat down and had a nice little conversation for Channel 13. I believe that's going to pop up tomorrow and then Saturday night as well. Like I said, when I get the exact time, I'll pass it along and let everyone know. It was really fun to chop it up with her. And me being a Bay Area guy and her being a Northern California young lady, obviously we had a lot of, things that cross paths that we understood each other really well. And like I said, she does a really good job. Sometimes you hear her on JT's show. Sometimes you hear her on the Morning Tailgate as well. But like I said, she really does a good job, and we appreciate her being in town and covering the silver and black and all other sports around the Las Vegas area. Let's go out to the phone lines at 702-365-9200. Again, 2 things you want to learn about this team by the end of training camp. Raider Mike, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
What's up, Q-Dog? How you doing, my brother?
Good, man. How you doing, man? You sound a little down. You doing all right?
Well, it's pouring down rain. Like, I got to build an ark kind of rain here in Carolina. So anyway, gotcha. I'll be all right. Have you done the Jets yet?
Yes. Yeah, we did the Jets. Yes.
I wanted Jeremy Green to do that with you, man. You know he's a Jets fan, right?
I didn't know he was a Jets fan, but I know him really well, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, he's told me he's talked to you recently. You know, he jumped from ESPN over to Fox. So, anyway, that would have been fantastic if he did the Jets with you.
I might get him on. I might get him on. I might get him on Friday to just talk about the Raiders draft class. That was the last time I caught up with him was in Pittsburgh. So maybe I'll do that on Friday.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, he'll kill that. He'll kill that. He had the kid out of Arkansas. What's his name? Washington.
Washington.
Right?
Yep. Washington. Yep.
Yeah, he had him first round pick, and we got him the 4th round. So anyway, get him on, man. He needs some props. He's moved to Fox off ESPN over to Greenville out of Asheville. So anyway, your question, my biggest one is Cousins bounced back completely because to when he was in Minnesota with our boy Kubiak, because he tore up the league that year. So we're not going to see Fernando if he does that. We're just not.
Right.
And I wouldn't mind that. If he makes a playoff run and goes Jim Plunkett on us.
Right.
Why not? I'm kind of good with that. And then Fernando just sits there for a year going, this guy's a badass. Also, I'll talk to him about how you work contracts in this league. The amount of money Cousins made over the years is just ridiculous. So anyway, the other thing is all these huge high draft picks, Kuntz, Rodgers, Mayer, JPJ, Glaze, Porter, are you ever going to be anything? Or is it just a complete waste again, which we have just experienced almost a decade, Q. No, I think it is a decade. So those are the two questions I want to answer. Because I think Cousins, if he's back to full strength, Cousins, he knows this offense like no other. That was his best year ever with our boy Clint Kubiak. So those are my two questions, Q. Anyway, good to hear your voice. Love you, Ari. Love you, Q. Raiders, I'm out, bro. Peace.
There he goes. Raider Mike, good call, man. Definitely appreciate that. And, yeah, I mean, it's that time. It is that moment where some of these higher draft picks, I mean, you mentioned Kuntz. He was even a 3rd-round pick, right? It was so long that we waited for him to pop and pop and pop, and then finally, boom, second half of 23, he popped. And, man, I remember going into 24 how excited I was for Malcolm Kuntz. I thought that dude was going to just build off what he did, especially with the continuity with AP coming back as the head coach. Patrick Graham was still a defensive coordinator. I thought, man, they're going to be cooking with grease. And that's just how things go, man. I mean, you can't bank on it. And then he goes down with the torn ACL, and then it takes a little while for him to recover. And if you're Malcolm Kuntz, I have to give him so much credit for keeping a good attitude and not getting down. I mean, you think about the position he was in when Josh McDaniels was the head coach. I know nobody wants to relive that time. I know my guy Mike is probably sending me a tweet right now. Don't bring up the name that we don't mention. Like, I get it. But when he was there, Malcolm Kuntz got in the doghouse, right? He was. I still remember that day out on the practice facility. I still remember it like it was yesterday. Derek Carr back to make a play, do a drill, and Malcolm Kuntz puts his hands up in the air, and all you hear is, get out of the bleepity, bleepity, bleepity way, Kuntz, get out of the way. Get your bleepity, bleepity, bleepity hands down, Kuntz. Like, I remember it like it was yesterday. And he was never the same. Never the same after that moment in practice. And it happened right in front of us there at the facility. And he never seemed to get out of that doghouse. And then when McDaniels gets fired and AP takes over, all of a sudden it's like, bink, that switch flips. And you thought, man, that's who Kuntz could be. He's got speed. He's got a knack at knocking the ball away. Like we talk about creating turnovers all the time. He has that ability. He can knock the ball out of the quarterback's hands. He does a really good job of sacking the ball. Not just sacking the quarterback, but sacking the ball. My man had what? Eight sacks and 3 forced fumbles in 8 games or 9 games. I think it was 9 games. 8 sacks, 3 forced fumbles. That's a good season. You know what I mean? Like, for a guy who's not the number one, that's a good season. He did that in 9 games. So I just knew going into 2024, he's figured it out. He's not walking around on eggshells, just not trying to get in trouble, right? He's good to go. Let it rip. And he was ready. And, again, I think Adam Hill's the one who actually asked him the question about that contract when we were there in Costa Mesa when they had training camp. And he said, I'm not worried about that. That'll all work itself out in the wash. I'm just, trying to keep building on what I'm doing and keep working on what I'm doing. And even in camp that year, man, he looked good. He looked like, man, he's the part. He's going to be that bookend that we've been talking about for years when it comes to who's going to be that Robin across from Maxx. And then, camp was over, preseason was over, and then also we started getting reports, oh, man, I think Malcolm Koonce hurt himself at the end of practice. It was right there on the eve, basically, of the 2024 season. And, then you got to bounce back, and the good thing is it happened before the year, so he had all year, but coming back last year, it just seemed like he was a little tentative. He wasn't quite confident and believed that he's fully back healthy. And so this year you hope that he could be that guy. I know he's got the ability. We all saw the ability. Can he unleash it? Can he open it up? That's going to be the big question. The Raiders clearly have believed in him. They get him a 1-year contract 2 years in a row. They don't just hand out $10, $12, $14 million a season because, they think you're a nice guy. It's a business at the end of the day, and the business will tell you what they think about you. If they continue to re-sign you, they believe in you. But you also have to show and prove. So that's why he's got the 1-year deal. So this could be a big year for him. Raider Mike, thanks so much for that call, man. Really good stuff. Great to hear from you. And stay out the rain out there, man. Come to our side of the world where it's nothing but sun, right? It's monsoon season, but I ain't seen no mon and I ain't seen no soon, if you know what I mean. I ain't seen nothing. All I've seen is sun and heat. Every time they say it's monsoon season, I ain't seen nothing. But there's that. What is Ari? Oh, okay. I was like, you got this big old look on your face. I'm like, man.
It's the Wi-Fi.
Oh, well, that happens.
Look. Yes, me excited about the Wi-Fi.
Your looks. That if everyone could actually have seen the look on Ari's face, you would have thought that like the whole show just went off the air and everything just crashed, or we finally got a LeBron James decision and all of a sudden something, right? That was the look. Ari said the Wi-Fi crashed.
No, we got it back. So.
Oh, sorry. We got the Wi-Fi back. So there's that. All right. Well, 702-365-9200. I know you got winning on the way. We also have another performance that we have to flush. But before we do any of that, let's go ahead and go out to the phone lines, talk to my guy, Bernard. Bernard, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Q. I kind of lost the question, but I think it has some we'll be looking forward to or something like that. I apologize, but
no, it's two things you want to learn about this team by the end of training camp.
That they're gonna stay together through tough times, man. I don't know if you can find that out in training camp, but just looking at Ashton Jeanty, he's a perfect example, man. That dude was, it's well documented how much he was getting hit, but man, he always had a smile after the game. I never seen him on the bench like pouting. He would get hit, he would just get right up. So I just want them to keep their head up, man, even if they go through a tough patch. So okay. I want to see the team come together. And the thing with Fernando, I think it's going to happen organically. As good as Kirk Cousins has been, and I think he's perfect situation with the Raiders because he knows his offense. He worked with the coordinator. He worked with the head coach. But he's not going to stay healthy the whole season. I mean, very few quarterbacks do. Even the best ones, get hurt. I mean, Patrick Mahomes got hurt this year, but he went through a stretch where he didn't get hurt. It's just inevitable. So, putting him in now, putting him start of season, it's going to happen organically. And one more thing, Houston was one of the top defenses last year, and Jeanty had one of his best games against Houston last year.
Yep.
So this offensive line just get better, incrementally, just get better, and Jeanty is going to shine, and Bowers is going to shine. You got two really good players on offense, and a lot of teams, that's all you need, and then just don't turn the ball over. Gino threw an interception in that game, but you know what I mean? They could have won that game, but I'm saying this is one of the best defenses in the league, and Jeanty they couldn't tackle him. So I think a lot of people's spirits are high, and with the Raiders, we're going to stay positive. 6 games, it'll be good, and just play good football and show us that you're getting better. That's what I want to see.
Hey, really good call, Bernard. Definitely appreciate that. And you're right about that Texans game that was on December 21st. That was arguably Genty's best game of the season against a really good Texans defense. To your point, the Raiders barely lose that game. 23-21 to the point where I just knew the next week they were going to beat up on the Giants. Wrong. Right, the Giants got them 34-10, but in that game against the Texans, if you recall, Genty went off for 128 yards, had a touchdown, had that 51-yard long as far as the touchdown run. He also had 2 catches for 60. One catch really didn't. No, he had 2 attempts. I'm sorry, 1 catch for 60 yards and a touchdown. So yeah, he had a big time game, and I remember that game like leading up to it. I remember talking to Paul Gutierrez at the time, and he said, and he wrote an article on Raiders.com, and you can go back and check it out if you don't believe me. He wrote an article and said that he believed that Genty could have a really good game between the tackles against Houston. There was our good friend Cynthia Freeland had joined him on the upon further review. You know, and she had joined him and said that the numbers, the analytics. Remember, I'm not a big analytics person, but she had said the analytics say that Genty should be able to have a really good game against the Houston Texans, and boom, you turn around, he had a really good game against the Houston Texans. So, just want to make sure I give proper credit to the ones that deserve it. But really good call, my man. Definitely appreciate you. And, yeah, can these guys stay together? That'll be a big question. Not in the good times. That's easy. In the times of adversity. 702-365-9200. You're going to need that number because Ari has winning right now.
Right now, it's a pair of tickets to see the Aviators versus the Tacoma Rainiers on the 8th of August at the LV Ballpark. Tickets available at Ticketmaster, or as Q said, caller 9 right now, 702-365-9200. Must be a Nevada resident. Give me a call and you get a pair of tickets.
All right, there it is right there. We'll hear from you. We'll get you some winning, and there's another performance that we got to flush. We got that all coming up next here on RaiderNation Radio 920.
It's time to flush it. Brought to you by Moonlight Plumbing.
MoonlightPlumbing.Vegas. Got to shout them out. They are the sponsor of our fantastic segment where we have to flush a performance. And the flushing can come from anywhere, any walk of life, coaches, players, sport. It does not matter. Broadcasters, radio hosts. We've all been flushed. I've been flushed. Matter of fact, on day 1, I took a flushing myself. So anyone could get it. Anyone could come to the front of the congregation and get flushed. And, of course, that's brought to you by MoonlightPlumbing.Vegas. And we will get to our flushing in a hot minute here on Unnecessary Roughness, RaiderNation Radio 920. But first, we want to go out to the phone lines at 702-365-9200. I threw the question out there. 2 things you want to learn about this team by the end of training camp. Got to hear from my guy, Raider Mark in Henderson. Raider Mark, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Q, my brother, man. How you doing, man?
I'm blessed, brother. How you doing?
Good, man. Hey, you're the hardest working brother in the showbiz, man. I hear you all day. My brother loves you, man, from North Carolina, man. You're the man, man. I have a pleasure to meet you several times, and thank you for everything you've done, man. Because you're the true Raider fan. I know that for years and years. So thank you, man. I definitely appreciate that.
Appreciate you.
One thing the only thing I want to talk about is being competitive. I think they're going to be competitive this year. I don't care what the win-loss record is going to be. I want to see them being competitive. I think they will be because of how Kubiak's going to have this team ready and disciplined on what they're going to do, and they're going to have a game plan. Last year was like a total disaster. I was so surprised that it was such a disaster because of Petey. And Petey was a great coach back in the day with USC, and he did with Seattle. But he just didn't discipline these guys. He had his family involved, and it didn't feel like a team. In the beginning, we thought it was, but later on, it became out it was a disaster. And he didn't make those decisions on his son being the offensive line coach and all that stuff. But I think we're going to be competitive. I can't wait. That's one of the things I want to harp on is being competitive, disciplined, and we know the team is going to be talented now on the defensive side of the ball. The offensive line's got structure now, and I think Genty is going to have a breakout year, man. I know we see him on social media dunking and doing this training and everything. I think he's going to have a phenomenal year. If Brock Bowers can stay healthy, I think he's going to have a phenomenal year. I'm not worried about the receiving core because I think we've got some young guys that are hungry, and Kubiak, he likes the receiving core. And I just think that being competitive, and showing that, Kubiak has the discipline. These guys is gonna show out. Another thing is, the only thing I'm concerned about is that the schedule is going to be very tough. And we know that with, Buffalo coming in town, Seattle coming in town. We got the Niners on the road. It's going to be competitive. It's going to be tough. But if we can get 6-7 games this year, I think this is a success, man. Hey, love you, brother, man. I'll see you during the season. Thank you for the time, brother.
Hey, thank you for the call. Great stuff right there. Raider Mark and Henderson, it's always great to hear from you. Great points. Discipline is a big deal. The Raiders need to show that. And you know what? Clint Kubiak's going to have that. I can tell you that. He's definitely going to have this team disciplined, being competitive. I expect them to be competitive. I'm with you. I expect the 6-7 wins as well, and I think that's a really good start for year one. Will I take more? Absolutely. You get to 9, 10, 11 wins, sure. Bring them all, right? I'll take them. But in reality and being realistic, 6 or 7, I'm good. That's a good first step, and they can build off that. And Ari's obviously being a little immature, I should say there,
absolutely.
Back in the Lotus Broadcasting Studio. But yeah, anywhere in that range, I'm fine with. How about that? And let's see how it all plays out. And man, really good call. I think Genty's going to have a phenomenal season as well. And the only thing I ask, and this is not from Raider Nation, this is to all the media members that are going to be covering the Raiders this year. When we meet with Ashton Genty in the locker room post-game and he has a career high in carries, you don't have to ask him how his body feels. He is a workhorse. He is a guy that gets better the more carries he gets, right? Every time you have 12 carries, how do you feel? Feels fine. You had 20 carries. How do you feel? Feels fine. You had 24. That's a career high. I feel fine. The guy had 5,000 carries in college, right? I'm over-exaggerating, but, man, he can carry the rock. He's going to be fine. Ask him any other question. Telling him that he had a career high in carries and how he feels is not one that you have to ask, because I already could tell you the answer. He's going to say, I feel fine. But thank you for that call. Really good stuff. We do have to get to a Flushing, and this Flushing, thank you again to MoonlightPlumbing.Vegas, has to come from the world of baseball. I don't know how many people were watching this game. The good thing in baseball is we've had to flush the A's a couple times. It's one of 162, right? So if you're a baseball team, right, and you have a bad moment, you can flush that whole game out of your mind. Well, the Phillies are going to have to do that. This flushing is coming from courtesy of the Phillies, who, and in particular, JT Realmuto and his awful base running to end the game as the Phillies lose last night 2-1 to the Dodgers. The Phillies literally ran themselves out of a potential winning rally against the Dodgers in the bottom of the ninth Tuesday after what JT Realmuto acknowledged was a lapse in judgment, I say that in air quotes, on the bases that ended the game in a double play. Philadelphia was down 2-1. Bohm started the bottom of the ninth with a single. Then he was replaced by a pinch runner, Justin Crawford. Sosa struck out. Realmuto doubled to left. Crawford's at third. Picture this in your mind. Rock with me, right? Brandon Marsh hit a squibbler to third base. Remember, there's a guy on second and third. He hit a squibbler to third. Crawford broke home. He was tagged by Mookie Betts in a rundown. And Realmuto, he had already reached third base, tried to retreat. All he had to do was stay there on third base, and instead he tried to retreat to second and was thrown out by Betts. So something that you don't hear very often, the Dodgers executed a 5-2-6-4 double play to perfection to end the game. And if you don't believe me on how, rare that is, take a listen for yourself.
Hey, we want to make sure it doesn't beat us and turn into 2 runs there. And sure enough, there's the ground ball to the left side of the field.
And they're going to have Crawford in a rundown. And now, all of a sudden, Realmuto going back to second base. And it's a double play.
Wow.
A double play to end the game on a rundown. Can you believe it?
It was setting up almost like, okay, you're going to get the out there. Crawford's in the rundown, and JT Realmuto played it perfectly at first. He's standing there on third, and then all of a sudden the play starts to work out, and he ends up retreating back. And next thing you know, the Dodgers are able to get it. Sure enough, we just talked about it, the ground ball to the left side here. Muncy makes a great play, runs him back to the pitcher, or runs him back to the catcher all the way back. Just before there, JT Realmuto standing on third. At that point, you just got to stay there and assume you're going to give up an out and still keep a runner in scoring position. Everything was looking somewhat okay until Crawford was able to come back, and JT thought that Crawford was going to make it back safely there, therefore causing JT to go back to second. They make the play to double him up.
Second and third, one out, and that happens to end the game.
You couldn't have wrote it up any other
that's
different way.
unfathomable as a Phillies fan, right?
Wow. You wanted to have yourself an opportunity. You put pressure on the defense. You hadn't been doing it much prior to that against this pitching staff and that bullpen, and you get a chance to go ahead and do it. But unfortunately, a base running blunder right there ends the game, and the Dodgers end up winning this one.
A base running blunder, and then that happens. Like, you know, when the announcers, man, they put extra sauce on it, you know it's even bad. Wow, right? How did that happen? That was, again, in real time, incredible. 5-2-6-4. That, if you're scoring at home, right? If you're old school like my grandfather was, he used to take the scorebook to the baseball game and fill out everything that happens. If you're filling out at home, if you're keeping track, 5-2-6-4 double play. That's how that game ended. The Phillies lose to the Dodgers 2-1. So, again, the good thing about baseball, you can flush that performance, come back the next night. You got 162 of them bad boys, and, you know, they are in the second half of the season after coming out of the All-Star break. That flushing was brought to you by Moonlight Plumbing, moonlightplumbing.vegas. From sunup till moonlight, affordable, dependable plumbing professionals serving Las Vegas since 2016. They mean business. No problem is too big or too small for Moonlight. Their services range from residential leaky faucet repair, water heater replacement, commercial plumbing system installs, and full remodels. You can give them a call if you want. 702-355-3938. That's 702-355-3938. Or, as I tell you all the time, moonlightplumbing.vegas is the easiest way to get a hold of them. Small but mighty, veteran-owned and operated company, so you know we appreciate that. And military and first responder discounts are available. Visit our friends at moonlightplumbing.vegas. That's moonlightplumbing.vegas.
Flush It is brought to you by Moonlight Plumbing. Affordable, dependable plumbing professionals serving Las Vegas since 2016. We mean business.
They've stabilized the quarterback position, and they have a head coach who knows how to handle quarterbacks in Clint Kubiak, who they hired away as the former offensive coordinator of the Seahawks. You now have Kirk Cousins. I think he'll start the season as the Raiders quarterback. They're going to bring along their number one overall pick, Fernando Mendoza, slowly, and it's a good combination. They know they have their present and future accounted for at the quarterback position.
You're listening to Unnecessary Roughness with your boy Q. Brought to you by Meineke, doing car care right.
Man, really good stuff right there. Adam Schefter talking about the Raiders quarterback room. Obviously, Kirk Cousins, the veteran. Fernando Mendoza, the future. When will we see Mendoza? That's obviously one big question, but that's not the focus on today's show. Two things that you want to learn about this team by the end of training camp is what we're asking here on Unnecessary Roughness. RaiderNation Radio 920. Travis in St. Louis said, hey, Q, by the end of camp, I want to know, one, does Kirk Cousins, still have the athletic ability required to lead this team at a high level? And two, did the team select the clear best 5 offensive linemen to be starters? Again, that's Travis in St. Louis. Hot Sauce Raider said, the one thing I want to know by the end of camp is if Mr. Brady was actually in the building to help mentor Mendoza into becoming a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Was he not allowed to purchase part of the team in order to fix it? Time to roll up your sleeves, Tommy, and get to work and help out. Go Raiders. And then Rob in Oakland, 2 things I'd like to see by the end of the camp. 1, team toughness in pads. 2, JPJ, does he accept and follow Linderbaum as the leader of the offensive line? This would be a big step in JPJ's professional development to improve discipline, technique, and consistency. That's Rob in Oakland. From Oaktown to L.A., let's go out and talk to our guy, Houston. Houston in L.A., welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, my guys, man? I'm just pumped up. The season's getting started, and you know my painting business has been cool, brother. But man, you can't take breaks and stuff doing this. I said, man, I gotta take me a break, man. If I pass out here, man, it's crazy weather, bro. So you know, business is going well, but I gotta talk to y'all, man. Chop it up. I'm always listening while I'm painting, but you know, it's all right. So I thought about your question, and I got a couple answers that they may relate the same, but they're kind of different in a way. Make a long story short, I hate when people say that. The leaders, I want to know, you know, like who are going to be additional leaders besides Maxx Crosby, besides the Given, Fernando Mendoza, Brock Bowers, Kirk Cousins. You know what I mean? Like when I was younger and I used to see Lester Hayes, I used to see Mike Haynes, I used to see this. Well, I caught the tail end of the snake. Tail end of the snake. All right, but like, you know, like Marcus Allen, Bo Jackson. I want to know which guys are going to be our new leaders. You know what I mean? Like besides the average, because it takes more than one or two leaders, man. When you want a good team, you got to have a lot of people step up, and hopefully for us, it's going to be in each position, because once you pump up your position and you stand out, people see that, man, and people copy it, and they want to be just like you, man. So that's one that I'm really looking forward to. And then, man, I mean, I guess I'm kind of stuck on the second one. I guess I would say just people within those positions. I just want to see which guys in the DB battle are going to step up, which guys in the linebacker battle are going to step up besides the two that I know about already that are nice over there. And, you know, what guys are really, really going to make it happen. I want to see Mayer step up more because I know he's worth it. He's a hell of a tight end. I know he can do even better. All right, so that's pretty much all I got, Q. And RaiderNation, baby, we are here, man. You know, much love to everybody. Love. Raiders. Let's go.
There he is. Houston and L.A. taking a little bit of a break from painting those houses, man. Get your paint on, but definitely appreciate you. Great feedback there. Really great call to close us out. I do appreciate that. Let me get one more quick text in. Sir Whiskey Ray, what's happening, gentlemen? Fantastic topic. Lots of great answers and opinions from Raider Nation. I agree with Raider Mike from Colorado and Raider Avenger. Solid takes. Let me get at it. Here I go. I'd like to see our special teams stand out early in training camp and be a major impact in 2026. We need special teams to make plays, no excuses. Also, I want to see our offensive line be in regular season form sooner rather than later. We must stay healthy at that position and have some depth. Thanks as always. Cheers, Sir Whiskey Ray. Great way to drop the mic. Fantastic feedback on the text line and the phone line. Great job, Ari, in the studios. It's RaiderNation Radio 920.